Racing!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Sector 1. I am joining you from Bathurst, Australia. Tonight we are racing at the Mount Panorama Racing Circuit. I am your host, ASR Atom. I will be your stream director for this evening. Tonight I am joined, first off, by Jim Bob. Welcome, Jim Bob. How are you doing this evening, mate? Not too bad, mate. I am also joined by a debutant in the box this evening. We have a new face in the Sector 1 commentary box, well known for his catchphrases, "G'day everyone," and "Here we go." It is R4M Smokescreen. How are you, mate? I'm not too bad, mate. Welcome aboard. So we're getting started first of all with Group B, so Jim Bob will be directing Group B for us this evening. And who's been looking quick, Jim Bob? Oh, a couple of names. Oh yeah, he's always one to watch out for, and I've said it once and I'll say it again. When you go to Bathurst in this game, it doesn't matter who you are. If you've got an Australian flag next to your name, you're a big threat. So I think it's going to be hard to tell who's going to be coming out on top this evening. Okay, I've got a message in chat saying Jim Bob and Smokescreen are mute. Can I get some words from you guys, please? So I'm getting audio in according to my levels, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But I may have to just continue on as we are at the moment. Let me just turn that to monitor. One moment, please, guys. Apologies, having issues this early on in a Sector 1 stream, but we'll get these sorted as quickly as we can and make sure everything's okay. Smokescreen, could you say something for me, please? Okay, and Jim Bob, can I get something from you as well, please? Okay. From in the cockpit, yeah, of course. From track, and not for the first time, of course. Can I get some words from guys in the chat there? Can you hear Jim Bob and Smokescreen? I've had word from Brocky there that they aren't audible on stream. Is anyone else hearing them? They've just been speaking just a moment ago. But while we're waiting to sort that out, how about we go get qualifying underway for Group B here? Alright, word from the guys. No, still nothing on this end. Okay, this isn't right. Something's not going too well here. Okay. Turn it off and back on again. Yeah. May have to do something like that. Let me just confirm everything's plugged in here as it should be. Okay. Well, I would hope that maybe once I go to track, so I will check that now. Slideshow might interfere. Okay. Jim Bob, are you there?
Yep, I certainly am.
Alright, so I'm seeing audio spikes on the Streamlabs display here, so hopefully that means we are good to go. But I'll wait to see what the guys in chat say. Have we got any sound from Jim Bob there, guys? It looks like it should be according to the sound bars. We have audio now. Okay, so it sounds like you guys can't be heard while we've got slideshow on. So I'll bring it back to where we were before. Apologies to everyone in the chat, but I'll reintroduce the guys who are here. So Jim Bob, of course, joins me first of all for Group B. So he was just saying before about the guys who were looking pretty solid in practice. Who were you talking about there, Jim Bob?
Filthy's been pretty quick in the McLaren. That thing's a bit of a jet around here. Carbon Boy as well in the Obsession car. He's been pretty quick. Flat Stick, of course, in the Cornerstone Ferrari. He's looking pretty quick tonight as well.
All right, and just to go back to our debutant in the box, R4M Smokescreen, a new man in the race director team on his first effort here tonight. Would you like to say hello again, mate?
Yep, g'day everyone. I'm Smokescreen, and here we go with some Sector 1. I'm absolutely delighted by the opportunity. I'll be your race director for Group A later on today.
Good to have you here, man. All right, so
Thank you.
Qualifying is currently underway for Group B. As we were saying just before, they have begun here. So we'll have a quick look-see at what's going on track at the moment. So Jim Bob goes across the line first of all to start a flying lap. So of course also sitting in the commentary box at the moment, so commentating from the track and also with lobby responsibilities as well, so he's control of everything that's going on tonight, so hopefully he's not giving himself a sneaky advantage while he's in there as well. But we'll let him get on with his lap here. We'll let him get on with his lap here as he heads around Griffin's Bend. Back a step further, we've got Carbon Boy. So coming towards the end of his first season with Sector 1 in the 650S, the Tamar racing car. The McLaren has been looking like a good vehicle around here, although I'd say a lot of the cars actually have a pretty good competitive edge to them, except for maybe the Alpha at this particular track with all the power zones that we have. Jumping back a little bit further, we have the Crazy One, as he's more popularly known, driving the Ferrari for Red Mist. A little bit of intel from the Red Mist garage tells me that it was just over a week ago this particular driver was competing in a Bathurst 1000 on a separate simulator. I believe it was iRacing, if memory serves. But he completed, if my memory serves correctly, it was 146 laps of this track, so I think he's well and truly acclimatized to the mountains, so he may bear watching tonight. Stepping back one further, Filthy in the MyTrax McLaren this evening as they come through Forest Elbow, and one further back, Excalibur in the Hyundai for Death Grip. So he'll be looking to score some extra points tonight as well. The Hyundai has been a fairly competitive car here, although last week I think when we did see it being driven, the strategies may have not suited it as best as we could have seen. Flatstick in P6 at the moment as they come through the chase, 260 km/h corner there. Fantastic show of speed from these cars. And then closely followed by Debrev as well, who's crucially picked up a slipstream here as the first guys come across the line. Jim Bob with a 212.2 and a 213 flat for Carbon Boy in the early stages. Debrev's going to come across the line now to finish his first lap. The Crazy One goes 214.3 and Filthy at 213.1. Debrev comes across the line with a 215 flat, so not the most fantastic lap for those guys back there, and the Moth with a 15 as well. So Jim Bob currently leading the way. He called it before. He did say he was looking fast this evening. And we've got him on provisional pole with 5 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. These guys will probably mostly come back to the pits after this particular lap they're on. We'll have a look to see if Jim Bob is still hot up the top end of the field. As we jump on board now, we come over the top of the hill, very tricky section, got to carry as much speed as you can. It was being discussed earlier today that the Honda is looking particularly strong over this part of the course, so perhaps a significant advantage over the rest of the cars in this area, although he is down in his time for this lap, so it remains to be seen whether he will be into the pits this time around or going around again.
I'll give you the inside word, mate. He's definitely coming in this lap.
Team radio there from Jim Bob, coming in quite early for a pit stop. Very good. Carbon Boy also coming around. I suspect he'll be in for a pit stop as well. Quite a long lap here in comparison to the courses that we've seen in the recent times. 2 minutes and 10 seconds or so for these laps. And usually we're used to seeing a minute 20, a minute 30. So pretty harsh on the tyres around here a lot of the time. So most of the guys will be doing just the one flying lap and then coming straight in for a fresh set of boots. And it looks like we're going to be seeing 3 flying laps per driver for this particular race. So into the pits comes Carbon Boy and Jim Bob. Tough pit entry. We did see that actually tripping a couple of guys up last week. Of course, it's a whole different kettle of fish in the race when you've got worn out tyres coming through, so can be pretty tricky entrance. We'll jump back towards the guys near the back who haven't yet set a time. Flatstick yet to set one. The Crazy One crosses the line, and Filthy crosses the line with a 2:12.5, so he goes to provisional P2.
A nice lap from Filthy. He'll be happy with that.
I'm sure he will. Flatstick about to come across the line to set his first reference time. He's actually finishing his first out lap. So he will go for a flyer now. He'll probably get 2 flying laps in a row here, but this first one's going to be the one that counts the most because he's going to have fresh tyres for it. Excalibur back in P8 as well, provisionally. Of course, he hasn't set a time yet either. And the King Oscar also in the same boat. So these guys really getting their work cut out for them this time around. So a Viper, a Hyundai, and a Ferrari all yet to set a representative lap time. Of course, 9 drivers, as you may have noticed in the Group B event tonight. We've had a couple of guys drop out of the Group A and a couple of guys drop out of the Group B. And a couple of the Group B guys have, for that reason, got promoted to Group A, but that's also dropped the numbers down for Group B this evening. So a little bit of a change-up, and a little bit of a smaller field, but I'm sure there's going to be no end to the excitement of the racing here this evening. We jump up to the Crazy One coming down. Can he use the experience he's earned himself from the Bathurst 1000 he competed in only a week and a bit ago? Is he up on his time as he comes up over the crest of the hill on Conrad Straight? He's not quite up. Will he go in for a pit stop? I'm going to say no. He's only got a minute left on the clock. He's going to have to use the next lap the best he can. Jim Bob on an out lap. Filthy coming round potentially to set a faster time. His tyres may be a bit worn out though. He's obviously just done a very fast flyer, so he's going to have a little bit of trouble on these tyres, I'm sure. Carbon Boy about to finish his final out lap. Debrev there as well in the Alpha. Will he set a faster time now? Drives towards the line in that little Alpha. 2:13, 2:14. It's not going to be it is an improvement rather. Takes himself up to P5.
Oh!
We've had an issue at the exit of T1 there for Jim Bob. Did you catch some dirt there, did you?
Yeah, she's got a bit taily.
Flatstick drops a 2:13.1, gets himself up to P5, and Excalibur with a 2:12.8 puts himself into P3. So that's a good representative time for him there.
A nice job from Excalibur, the little Hyundai.
Well, now I'm just going to jump on board with the Moth for a second here because it looks like someone's blocking the final corner here. We'll just have a look as we head down. Is there a car coming back on track here? There is one there. Look, he's had to take evasive action there as well. So I'm just going to have a look at whose car is that. That might be something that has to be investigated by the stewards. It looks like it's Filthy. So Filthy may have abandoned his post at the end of his lap and forgotten to turn the handbrake on. And he's actually gotten in the way of another driver there. So That could be a penalty incoming for Filthy, and which is a huge hit given that he's starting on the front row here, provisionally at the very least. We look back up. Jim Bob also on a flying lap still. Excalibur over the top of the mountain. Looks like he's had a pretty quick first 2 sectors. He's only 0.006 down on his fastest time. Carbon Boy coming down Conrod straight in the McLaren. Look at that view. That looks fantastic as he comes down over the crest of the hill through the sector split. He is down on his time, so he's not going to improve this time around. Flatstick also coming down Conrod straight now. And we look at a very similar camera angle there. The Bez Media Ferrari looking pretty as it comes down. Just a 10th off his time. He could improve still. The King Oscar also on his final flying lap. We had a couple of guys crossing the line at these stages. No one improving as of yet. Debrev in P8 at the moment. In the Alpha, it looks like these guys are going to struggle to set any faster times because they are sitting on more worn tyres. Flatstick improves. Where does he improve to? He's gone to P4. He gets ahead of Carbon Boy. That's fantastic for him. He'll be very happy with that. Excalibur improves but cannot jump up a position. So Filthy and Jim Bob will take out the front row here at Bathurst for the final round of the Touring Car Trophy Group B. You must be happy with that, Jim Bob.
I'm a little bit stoked about that. I don't like Bathurst very much. I don't like the track at all. So, but yeah, having the fast guys moving up to Group A obviously makes life a bit easier for us slower blokes. So, but you make the most of the opportunity while you get it, don't you?
It still takes a lot of work to get yourself there, and these guys definitely didn't make it easy for you. Filthy only 2.5 tenths behind. Excalibur, Flatstick, Carbon Boy down there as well. A couple of really quick guys.
I'll give you the red hot tip though. That McLaren is just going to absolutely eat me for lunch off the line though.
Okay, so the launch is important here. The Honda seemingly not too good off the mark, as we're used to seeing from the season as we've seen it go so far. We'll have a look from the front end of Flatstick here as we get the 4 red lights up above the cars. 1 hour, 60 minutes of racing is underway. We're away here in Group B for the Touring Car Trophy. A great start from Flatstick, but he can't get past Filthy there in the McLaren. Jim Bob with a slower start as we expected, but he manages to slot into P2 here. So damage limitation, pretty successful there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
That Ferrari was really quick off the line there. He was very lucky, I think, on Jim Bob's side that there was a big wide McLaren there that wouldn't let it through. So pretty solid start from you guys. Flatstick's not going to make this easy though. He's having a look. We've got someone off in the background there. One of the Dodgers is into the wall. That's the King Oscar, I think. So he's tapped the wall at the exit of Griffin's Bend there, and he's got the Moth for company in another Honda, the Aussie Hampton colours. Flatstick's actually got through. Flatstick's ahead of Carbon Boy, and Jim Bob has dropped down to 4th place.
Yeah, missed the cutting up.
We had an issue there. Might have gone wide, dipped 2 wheels on the exit there. Probably not going to see any overtakes on the mountain, so we'll have a look now at a replay here. Yeah, a little bit wide. Doesn't allow you to get that apex on the exit there. And that's what cost Jim Bob 2 positions. He's had another error coming down through Skyline and the dipper.
Damage on the right front as well.
Well, a little bit of damage on board the car there, but still in the slipstream as they come down the straight. The crazy one into the wall there on the exit as well. Or it looked like from this angle anyway. But he's out of slipstream range of Jim Bob. So the top 5 have skipped away a little bit here. Pretty solid gap between Carbon Boy and Flatstick as well. So Flatstick and Filthy are a little bit off on their own at the moment. There's about a second gap between each of the cars here. So these guys now, the goal will just be to settle into a rhythm and get themselves solid bit of pace under them so they can carry that throughout the race. They'll be looking to stop twice or maybe 3 times depending on their strategy coming into this one. The hot tip is the 2-stop. From what I know, it is of course a mandatory 2-stop, but I think most cars won't make it all the way without stopping twice in any case. So we may see a couple of 3 stops, but I think the 2-stop's going to be the most common strategy here.
Yeah, I think so. I think a couple of the guys did try the 3-stop last week. It didn't really work out for them. So the pit transit time's a bit too much for them to make that work.
Yeah, we're looking at about, I think it was about a 12-second loss for those guys, maybe 15 seconds. And of course, we did see last week as well a whole lot of guys messing up the pit entry, which really cost them dear. So guys may be looking to avoid that at all costs in this particular race. We have a look back here from Carbon Boy back towards Jim Bob, who's just dropped out of slipstream range because he's got himself back up to P4 there, so he has taken care of Excalibur on the way through the first sector there, I think. And he's closely followed by Excalibur and the Crazy One, who's made a little bit of a comeback here. Oh, that's a big error for Carbon Boy. Big spin. We've seen it happen before in real life. And now we've seen it in GT. A big spin. Just caught a little bit of grass on the exit there. And, oh man, that would have really hurt the tyres as well, I think. We'll have a look at it on an action replay. Through the grate and around the left-hander. Just goes a little bit too wide into the wall. And a full-on 360 there. Almost stops it dead as well. So there'll be a little bit of damage on that car, I suspect. But he'll soldier on and hopefully hold it together. He's still P6 back there, so he's not doing too terribly. Flat stick now. He's losing time hand over fist to Filthy here. It's now 2.5 seconds between the drivers and another 2.5 seconds back to Jim Bob again, who's obviously overtaking Carbon Boy there with his error over the top of the mountain. So gives him a little bit of an easy P3, but he'll be looking to hold it together for as long as possible until the pit stops start coming in. Tyre wear will start to become a factor very soon for these guys as well, I suspect.
Tell you what, a 2:11.9 from Filthy is an absolute stonking lap too.
Oh wow. What was the fastest qualifying time? That would have been yours, wouldn't it?
It was a 2:12.3 or something, wasn't it?
Wow, look at that. So Filthy decides to save his best for the race, it seems. Alright. So heading through, yeah, he's got 3.5 seconds to chase now, so he's really extending this lead. Filthy is pushing as hard as he can, I think. We jump on board now as we watch the master at work over the top of the mountain. Filthy 086 through the sequence of left-handers. Does he have a little bit of a lift here? He does have to a little bit. Over the crest, throw it into the left there. Don't catch the grass like we saw Carbon Boy do. Only 1 lap ago on the brakes. The mid-engine car just wanting to spin as hard as it can. He holds it together through the dipper, puts his foot to the floor. Very smooth steering inputs here. He looks in supreme control right now as he comes down towards Forest Elbow. Tucks it in tight, on the power as early as possible. Exit nearly grazing the wall, and now 4 seconds to flat stick behind. Filthy is untouchable right now. We look back at flat stick as well, and he's now starting to fall into the clutches of Jim Bob as well. Only 1.1 seconds separating the two drivers. Over the mountain, that Honda is ridiculously fast. A lot of curb there for Flatstick as they head through the chase. We look back at Excalibur. He's got a rear view mirror full of the Crazy One. Not the sort of person you want to have filling up that mirror. That'll be very scary right about now. Look back from the chill out system car. The Crazy One showing his nose through T1. Forces a poor exit from Excalibur there. And Crazy gifts himself P4 there, an easy pass, very well done. That was a fantastic tactic on the way in. Show his nose, add a little bit of fear to Excalibur's race and force him wide without any form of contact whatsoever. That's exactly how you want to do it. A fantastic job.
Love that.
Womble will love that, I'm sure. Although I'm sure he won't love the paint he was scraping off onto the walls in practice.
Thought we were going to tell him about that, mate. Come on.
The Red Mist boys will fix it up for next season, I'm sure. Although they'll be heading over to the Porsches next season, as will everyone else. So if you don't know, if you don't follow Sector 1 too closely, this is the final round of Season 4 here at Sector 1. Season 5, we don't have dates in as of yet for the very beginning of it, but we know that it will be in the Porsche 911 RSR, and it will be a one-make. So very exciting times ahead for Sector 1. As we continue on with the race here at Bathurst in the Group 4 Mixed Machinery. Jim Bob's had an error coming down the mountain by the sound of things. Through Forest Elbow, still that 1 second gap. Did you close that up a bit to him, did you?
Oh, I did, and I hit the wall at the dipper again.
Oh, man.
Yeah. There's not going to be much paint left on the front of this car by the end of the night, I don't think. It's unfortunate.
It is Bathurst. Narrow walls are its specialty, and we've got word from the pit wall from Womble, team leader at Red Mist Racing. Crazy can scratch this up as much as he wants tonight, so he's been given free rein with this car. Go like hell is the message from the pits, and that he is doing. He's now a second clear of Excalibur, who he passed early on in the lap, and he's actually got Jim Bob in his sights. The gap now less than 2.5 seconds. That experience might be coming through. We talked about it, over 140 laps at Bathurst just a week ago for Crazy. Might be coming in clutch here this evening. We look back, World Championship battle for 7th place between the Moth and King Oscar. All over the back of him is the King himself. And we jump on board the Viper as they head down Mountain Straight towards Griffin's Bend. Where does he hit the brakes? Just after the 100 metre board. Chucks it in. That Honda super quick through that corner. Wow. Had a lot of pace through there. High speed cornering, a strength of that car it seems. And they head through the cutting. Tuck it in nice. Use the camber of the corner. Still all over the back of the Moth. The Moth cannot shake the Viper of Oscar. Now, this is a very important handling section of the track, and the Honda has proven its legs around here time and again this week and last week. Can the Viper stay with it? They head across Skyline, down the hill. The mid-engine car wants to spin. It wants it so bad. Through the dipper. The Viper is still there. Half a second between the two cars. They head towards Forest Elbow. Who's got the better brakes? Oscar closes up, but he goes deep. He's going to lose all his time, and he's hit the wall on exit as well. Working a little bit too hard to catch that Honda, and he's lost all hope now, it seems. 1.2 seconds and falling further behind. We'll have a look back now at Debrev, who may have done an early pit stop in that Alpha, but we're unsure at this stage. I'd say probably not. There may have been an incident for him earlier on. 13 seconds back is about the pit transit time, but don't want to jump to any conclusions just yet. We'll see how the race pans out. We look ahead now to Filthy once again. 4 seconds to the good now over Flatstick in P2, and Flatstick importantly is coming under a lot of pressure from Jim Bob here. He's now within slipstream range as they head onto Mountain Straight. Oh, a little bit of oversteer there for Jim Bob coming out of the corner. What's he got down Mountain Straight? What sort of legs does the Honda have? Can it get by the Ferrari? He's very close. Is he going to go for it? Sticks the nose up the inside. He puts his car there, but Flatstick slams the door, and a little bit of oversteer there from Jim Bob as well.
Far out.
Really pushing hard here. He almost had his nose in there, but Flatstick managed to just let off the brakes just enough to close the door and get himself in there. So he holds the position for now. 1 second clear now. The crazy one's still there. Don't count him out yet. 2.2 seconds behind Jim Bob. The gap is not changing too severely. So he is still in with a shout here at a podium, I think. And the pit stop strategy could, of course, come into play very much so as well. Excalibur trailing 1.5 seconds down from the crazy one, although he closes up a lot there under brakes on the way through Skyline and the Dipper. Carbon Boy still in P6 after his earlier error. He hasn't quite recovered the way he needs to. He'll be seeking that first pit stop for a restart, get himself some fresh tyres and get himself up there again. The Moth still has King Oscar in range, just a second between them. I think that Honda might have the legs down the Conrod straight. We've seen from the Viper, as much as it is a V10, we expect it to be quick in a straight line. It hasn't really blown us away down the straights, it seems, over the course of this season. So, not with too much of an advantage. Big corner cut there from the King Oscar. Does that one come with an invoice? I don't know. I wouldn't expect so, because I would say he didn't gain any time in particular. But he's made his way across the grass there, or the Moth a little bit wide on exit there of Murray's as well. And that's brought Oscar right back into it. He might even be able to go for a cheeky dive at T1 here. They go through line astern onto Mountain Straight. We jump on board now with the King Oscar, just half a second behind the Moth. Picks up a little bit of grass there on the left, seemingly losing a little bit of concentration at this point. We're getting to that point in the race. Once you get through the first pit stop, the middle stint is particularly difficult to keep your concentration together as we head on up the mountain through Griffin's Bend. That Honda pulling away a little bit. 0.75 through there. Manages to tuck it in, does King Oscar, as well as the Moth in front, but 0.6 now separating them. Where does he go for it? What can he do? Does Oscar have something in his locker here? The Honda's pulling away over the top of the mountain, although there's a graze of the wall there. I think he's lost a little bit of speed as they come through. Down towards Skyline. Down they go, down the hill. The mid-engine fighting the driver for control. Still very close together. Head round onto Conrod Straight. They're still very close together. I think King Oscar might be able to go for a move here. With the advantage of the slipstream, he's going to have plenty more pace in a straight line. Look at that menacing Viper in the mirror. They're side by side heading up to the chase, the 260 km/h corner, and the Moth lets it happen. He allows King Oscar through, gives him plenty of space in the deceleration zone, and through goes King Oscar into P7. And he's pulled out a solid gap there as well, so I think he's going to hold on to this one for some time. We look ahead now.
What, the tyres on that Ferrari must be pretty good.
Is that flat 6 car you're talking? Oh, a bit of a moment there.
No,
crazy behind. Wow, look at this. He's all over him. That's inside on the tactics here. He's going to hold the outside. Kazi up to P3. That's into the podium positions there for the Red Mist Ferrari. Whoa, good cutback there from Jim Bob, though. He's got himself alongside again and his nose ahead. Is he going to sweep around the outside? Here he is. Wow, that's fantastic. Look at that. Oh, there's contact on exit, though. I don't know about that. I think Jim Bob caught a little bit of the outside there, which got the car a little bit sideways. I don't know if we'd probably put Kazi at fault for that one, but there was contact and it did slow Jim Bob up. And I think that's what gifted Kazi that third position back. But
I was in a fair bit of trouble before he hit me if he did.
I think we'll leave that one for the stewards to decide. But the upshot is, as it stands, the Crazy One is currently in the podium positions with Jim Bob not far behind as we come up to the first pit stops of the race. We've seen someone dive in early doors, or a couple of guys have dived in early doors. The Moff and Excalibur have both gone for an early pit stop. Debrev is still back there in the Alpha, but ahead of the pair of them. Flatstick still in no man's land a little bit as he comes down Conrod Straight. And I don't think he's nearly close enough to the driver in front to go for some form of undercut or anything like that here. I don't think he's going to gain enough time to get ahead or even remotely close enough to really challenge him unless there's a mistake on Filthy's end. Filthy's had a pretty perfect drive so far in that McLaren. He's still holding strong. I expect we'll see one more lap before he comes into the pits at the 40-minute mark. No early stops from these guys. They're all hanging out for that 40-minute mark. So Filthy, Flatstick, Crazy and Jim Bob all go around again. Carbon Boy, first of the two stoppers to come in, I think. And the King Oscar as well, also in. So we may see an undercut here from the likes of Excalibur and the Moth. So I think it was Excalibur who was tailing King Oscar. Or, no, sorry, it was the Moth, wasn't it? So we'll jump back there then. Oh, he's hit the wall. So there goes any chance of an undercut there for the Moth, I think. He was in a good spot, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to get ahead of King Oscar as he comes out of the pits around here. And he will have dirty tyres through here as well. So King Oscar comes out a solid 2 seconds ahead. And there we go. That's all said and done for the first stops, I think. And I think we've had a retirement here as well. No, we haven't. Debrev's in for his first stop. I saw him in there for a long time, but not the case. Carbon Boy and Excalibur now, all on top of one another as they head up the hill. Very close here on Carbon Boy's outlap. Excalibur on 1 lap older tyres, so there is an advantage here to be seen as they head up the mountain. Excalibur will hold it together, I'm sure. Jim Bob now coming down the hill with a bit of clear air in front of him and a solid amount behind. So the top 4 all yet to stop. Flatstick's actually pulling the gap back on Filthy a little bit here. 3.5 seconds now. It was looking at 4 seconds before. But a pretty solid gap between these guys.
Give me the red hot tip. The tyres on this Honda are absolutely cooked as well.
Alright, so I expect you'll be in this lap then.
Absolutely.
So I think we'll see all of the top 4 pitting this lap. Kazi, Flatstick, Filthy. We'll have a look here. Does he get pit entry right? Looks like he's playing it very safe. Yep. So that's in for Filthy. Flatstick also plays it safe. Crazy also plays it safe. And Jim Bob, all 4 drivers make it in without error. So no time found there between any of them. We'll have a look back at Excalibur. I think he's too far back to make anything work from here. We'll have a look from on board anyway. As he comes around Murray's for the 9th time, heads across down to the start, finish straight. Filthy's out the box. Flatstick's out the box. The Crazy One is going to fall behind Excalibur.
Geez, that lap really made a difference, didn't it?
That was absolutely huge from Excalibur. A fantastic undercut there. Gets himself into P3, and that's track position because that's first stop made for all of the drivers on track at the moment. And it looks like after that pit stop, there's been a bit of a drop in time between Filthy and Flatstick again. It was 3.5 last time we checked. It's now 3.3. It was just for a moment there 3.1 as he was getting used to the car there. But Excalibur has pulled an absolute blinder here, followed closely by the Crazy One. Carbon Boy as well, up in P5. So he's jumped up from P6 after his incident. I wouldn't write Kazi off just yet. He's not far behind Excalibur. I think he's going to look to make a move as soon as he can. So this first pit stop has brought the field right up together. We've got a whole bunch of guys here separated by less than a second each. Any one of them could make a big change to the race standings now. So as I was saying before, once you make that first stop, you get onto the middle stint. This is the part of the race where the endurance really starts to set in. There's nothing to really look for, and you know, you're not fresh with the adrenaline from the start of the race, and you don't have that. We're not far now. We're in the last stages adrenaline of the last part of the race. You've just got to put in laps and keep things going for 20 minutes, and it can really drain you. So this is the test now of these drivers' endurance. Who's got the best mental capacity? Who's got the strongest will here? And it looks like Kazi's going to have a look again at Excalibur up the inside. Excalibur leaves him loads of room and, in fact, runs himself off the road. And no contact to be seen there that we could see anyway. And Kazi flies through. It's the second time he's done that this race. Just stuck his nose up the inside just to show it in the rear view, and forced an error from the driver in front. That's fantastic driving from Kazi. But he's also got a driver to worry about in his mirror as well. Carbon Boy's going to be looking for a move as soon as he can as well. Looks to the outside at Griffin's Bend. What can he do? Is Kazi going to hold it up the inside? I think he's made it stick. And they do. They head up the mountain. Carbon Boy's forced to the outside at best. He's not quite far ahead enough to stick it around the outside like we saw from Jim Bob before. But these three guys are going at it hammer and tong now. They're all on particularly fresh tyres. There's no real advantage here between any of them. As we look back from Kazi again. Carbon Boy holding it firm. Jim Bob's there just to pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong. And I'm sure it could. Over the mountain we go. That Ferrari is absolutely flying right now. Jim Bob picks up some grass there, but he's kept it together over the top as they come downhill now. McLaren's still holding it together. The Honda's still there. A little bit of an error from Jim Bob there, but he may have lost out of the slipstream there, I think. A little bit of a wall touch. They head down Conrod now. The gaps have extended. Kazi's pulled out a second on Carbon Boy. Carbon Boy a second and a half on Jim Bob. And now Excalibur is breathing down Jim Bob's neck as Jim Bob serves a penalty. And he served it wrong and he's gone off the track. A big error there from Jim Bob. He's only just getting back on the track now. We'll have a look there at what happened to Jim Bob. He had 0.2 left to serve as he came down the hill. He pulls off the racing line to serve it. You look here just a little bit to the left on the brakes and catch a little bit of grass. We've seen it so many times on corner entry from guys, and that's a full 360 for the Honda there. And we've also seen an error from Flatstick now. Flatstick goes off at T1 and Kazi's going to take advantage, send himself up into P2. That's fantastic for the Red Mist driver, and Carbon Mist through Carbon Boy as well. Sorry, I'm thinking Red Mist and Carbon Boy at the same time there. Goes up ahead of Flatstick, so Flatstick now with a lot of work ahead of him to retain that second position, or to earn it back rather, after an error at T1. We'll have a look at an action replay there of what happened to him. Not quite back far enough, but it's clear to see he made a haulings of his brakings at T1 and then ended up in the dirt on the exit. It's not something that's unusual to see. It's a common error even for the best of them, so no shame in that. But that has dropped him down to 4th place. But he's going to have a go at Carbon Boy as soon as he can. So the gap now to Filthy after that incident, because of course there was a gap between Chase and the crazy one back in P3. The gap now to second is 7.5 seconds. And I think it's going to take an absolute miracle for the Red Mist driver to pull that back. But anything can happen. This is Bathurst. He's putting in a good showing so far, but so is Filthy. He's seemed untouchable today in that McLaren. Carbon Boy now with Flatstick still in range in behind, still within slipstream. And Carbon Boy does not have the same advantage from the driver in front, so this is going to be an improved speed down the straight. for Flatstick as they come towards the chase. Fastest corner in the Southern Hemisphere. On the brakes. Chase very late on the brakes there. Closes right up to Carbon Boy. Wow. I was worried he wasn't going to make that apex there, but he stuck it in there somehow. Well, I think he's made a haulings of his exit though, because he's now outside of 8/10 behind Carbon Boy. Not quite what he would have wanted, I'm sure. Carbon Boy picks up a little bit of dirt on exit there, as does Chase. They're really pushing these guys. They're giving it everything right now. We jump on board with Flatstick down in P4. Really cutting as much of that corner as he can. Nearly taking dirt on exit as well. 1.1 behind Carbon Boy. Up Griffin's Bend. These guys still separated by barely anything. 1.2 seconds now between Flatstick and Carbon Boy. As they head through up the hill. It looks like we're seeing a bit of a close here from Carbon Boy onto the Crazy One. But holding a similar pace to Filthy out front, so clearly nothing to scoff at this point. That 2:11.9 still holding firm as the fastest lap for Filthy. Unfortunately, he didn't get pole position in that extra 2 points, but the fastest lap I'm sure will help him out, and it looks like he's set to win here as well. Well, it looks like Flatstick's come back into it now as well. He's right on the back of Carbon Boy once again, so that's a lot of pressure that Carbon Boy did not need. He's been working as hard as he can to chase down Crazy. But now when it matters most, he's got the pressure from Flatstick behind. Are we going to see a similar send to what we saw on the last lap at the chase? Really heavy on the brakes late on. Here we go then. He's got the overspeed. Is he going to look to the inside? I think he is. He moves to the outside. Goes late on the brakes. And he's going to make it around the outside. What a move from Flatstick there. Absolutely centered on Carbon Boy. I'd even go as far as to say that Carbon Boy even facilitated that move and braked a little bit early. But either way, that was absolutely insane. Had absolute confidence in his brakes there to go around the outside. Hooked it into the apex really nicely. And a perfect exit has left him only 9/10 behind Crazy. Getting out 1 second, but Flatstick's not done with Carbon Boy yet. What's Carbon Boy going to do? Is he going to look for a move? He is. He's up the inside now as they head towards Griffin's Bend. What's going to happen here? He's got his nose ahead. They're side by side as they come through. Carbon Boy gets through. There's a cutback on for Chase here. He looks to the inside. That's not somewhere you want to stick your nose up, but he does it anyway. But Carbon Boy manages to hold his nerve on the way through. They head over the mountain. The gap to Kazi has just slightly extended with those moves between these two drivers. 1.1 seconds it now sits at. This is a breath of fresh air for Kazi and exactly what he needs, these two to battle. If they continue to do that, he is going to pull away. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. Still holding firm to Filthy in front. The gap only 3/10 more than what we saw the last time that we looked at it. And now 7.5 again. So Crazy is really holding the pace of Filthy out front, who's really put on a show for us today in that McLaren. Done a fantastic job. But it just goes to show, even this far through the race, where the willpower becomes the most important, the most experienced of the endurance racers, who seems to be the Crazy One at the moment, will shine through. Carbon Boy with 1.2 to Crazy in front. Is Chase going to do it again? Does he look to the outside? No, not this time. He's just going to go hard on the brakes as normal. Makes it in. Puts himself right on the rear bumper through there. But I think it's compromised his exit a little bit. That McLaren not looking too fantastic on the brakes, to be fair. I think based on prior knowledge of the car itself, we'll get a little bit sideways there on exit as well. That's going to allow Chase a little bit of a look. He's flashing the lights as well. He wants that position. That McLaren does not have the most fantastic brakes from memory, so that might be one of its particular weaknesses in any case. We jump on board now with Carbon Boy. This is the race of the century right now. We can't look away from it for 1 second because we'll miss something huge. Is Flatstick going to go for a move? I don't think he's close enough here. He sticks his nose up. He goes for it. Oh my goodness, he's gone clean through. And he hasn't even hit the outside on exit. That's insane. We're going to have to look at that one again. But for now, we'll settle in as they head up the mountain. A huge move from Chase. Almost no contact, it seemed, through there. Gets himself up to P3, and that's what he needed. Because it looked for all the world like he was faster than Carbon Boy behind. But the gap to Kazi is now nearly 3 seconds. Where's that come from? The last time we looked, it was barely over a second, and now it's nearly 3. That's absolutely insane. Although Kazi is putting in the stint of his life right now. He's now down to 7 seconds, or under 7 seconds nearly, behind Filthy. So he's really working that Ferrari. If he keeps this up, he could really challenge for the win as the race goes on. Now under 7 seconds as they come down Mountain Straight. Conrod Straight, rather. And that gap to Carbon Boy has really pulled out a lot now, so it looks like Flatstick really had pace to burn there. So he's done very well to get by and get away here because that battle was really hurting him. We'll have a look now at that move again as they came down Mountain Straight. Last minute move to the inside, super late on the brakes. Gets through, it looks like minimal contact, and he manages to get the corner through done. And it didn't really affect Carbon Boy that much, so I'm going to say the contact, if there was any, was pretty minimal. So as much as that's a huge move from a long way back, he's made it stick and really got it done there. So I think, barring any investigation by the stewards, that was a fantastic move. Crazy now down to 6.3 seconds. Where is all this time coming from? He's absolutely pulling years out of Filthy in front of him. He's got more toe than a Roman sandal right now. We jump on board with Filthy now as he heads up the mountain. Up towards the cutting. What's he got in his locker? He's really working to hold it all together. He's a little bit wide of the apex there, though. So that might be one of the instances in which he's losing time. 25 minutes on the clock. That means we're looking at 2, maybe 3 laps left before their final stop here. And Kazi could even go for an undercut, which might even gain him a little bit more time. 6.3. The gap remains the same as he heads across the top of the hill and towards the downhill. Crazy one, working it. That gap is still coming down. Something about that Ferrari is really working tonight. The tyres must be in great shape. He's pushing it as hard as he can, and he's pulling time everywhere. Flatstick has no answer. He's still 2.8 behind. And he's hit the wall and he's off. He's straight into the wall, and that's lost him everything. He straightens back up and gets going again, but he's dropped down to P4. That is his podium chance almost completely gone. The King Oscar, where's the King Oscar come from? He's now in P5. He was battling with Moff not too long ago, although I suppose Moff is down in P6, so he's not far off. But I'm sure that Oscar was really battling it out for P8 earlier on, but now he's right on the back of Flatstick. Flatstick really struggling at this stage of the race. He may have done something to hurt his tyres here. They'll still be a little bit dirty as he comes into the chase. He goes a little bit wide of the apex, and he's had to cut the corner there. Is he going to lose out to Oscar here? I think he is. Oscar's gone around the outside, so that's another position lost for Flatstick, and he's still going to have dirty tyres, so he's going to have to drive a little bit conservative for a few corners here as he heads round again. Wow. From hero to zero in such a short span of time, and it's so common to see errors like that down the mountain. It's such a difficult track to get right. let's have a look at that incident again. As he came down, must have got it a little bit loose through this part of the track. Goes through the dipper as he just kicked the back out a little bit. Or the back catches the wall and into the wall on the left-hand side, and that's just stopped him dead, as we saw earlier on. So, really hard times at the moment for Flatstick, but we've still got a race going on here. 5.5 seconds to Filthy now. He's still chomping time out of him. Carbon Boy, seemingly not a threat to Kazi at the moment. This is the race of Kazi's life right now. Still continuing to chomp time out of it. He's got 1 lap to go after this one before he stops again based on his current trajectory. And the King Oscar will be licking his lips right now in P4. He'll be super stoked to be there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, have we had a pit stop, an early pit stop from someone who was near the top? I could be wrong. I think Excalibur might have pitted early. Although that may be a mistake, I'm not sure. We'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, Excalibur has pitted.
Excalibur has made a pit stop. Alright, so he's gone for an undercut on the guys ahead, so he will bear watching as these guys come in for their next stops. The King Oscar a little bit wide at Forest Elbow. Chase sticks his nose up the inside. He's going to get alongside here as they come down Conrod, although not quite. That Viper just manages to get the exit, but look at them, they're nose to tail as they come down the hill. Look at that, there's nothing to separate these two cars.
Oh, man.
Side by side through the chase. Flatstick looks to the outside, doesn't quite get it done. He's playing it a bit conservative right now, it seems. Have you had another error there, Jim Bob?
Had many errors.
Many errors. It's Bathurst, mate. I'm sure you can forgive yourself. Unforgiving track. We've got Excalibur in the background, though, going for a very late lunge on the Alfa Romeo there. Gets it done and gets through. Carbon Boy and the Moth are in. Flatstick has overtaken King Oscar as Oscar's headed into the pits. So he's got clear air now, and it looks like 15 seconds to Crazy in front. So I'd say the top two are fairly firmly locked in, but with the way Crazy is going, he could be on to challenge for P1 before long. But we'll maintain an eye on that one. Carbon Boy. I believe Carbon Boy's pitted there as well, but I could be wrong. The King Oscar has most definitely pitted. He pitted from ahead of Chase. So I'm going to say, ooh, Carbon Boy I think has pitted as well. So just the top three yet to make their second pit stop. And I don't think we've got anyone on a 3 stop at the moment.
Oh, that's strange. So I was in front of Debriv and Excalibur when I came in, and now I'm 18 seconds down the road from Debriv.
I don't think Debriv pitted that lap, did he?
I'm not sure. I thought it did.
We'll keep an eye on who boxes this lap. We got Filthy coming down. The gap now less than 5 seconds, but looks like whatever advantage Kazi has had up until now might be set to change because they're coming in for a fresh set of boots. My suspicion is that Kazi's tyre management has just been considerably better than Filthy's in front. Filthy comes into the pits. Is he going to play it safe on entry? Yes, he is. Early on the brakes. Gets it in. No issues on entry. Crazy's in. He's pulled a lot of time there. 4.3 now on entry. Flatstick coming through the chase. Pushes it on exit. He's coming into the pits now. 21 seconds down from Filthy and Crazy. Through he goes. He just manages to sneak in there. We look back at Carbon Boy. Carbon Boy goes around, so I think he's made his last stop. He has. He's on an outlap right now, so he's rounding the final corner to start his final stint, or to continue his final stint rather. Filthy comes out ahead. The Crazy one comes out ahead. Carbon Boy is going to come out in P3 here with plenty of clear air either side, so he's really sorted himself out here, and he's only 3 seconds behind the Crazy one. However, the Crazy one, of course, does now have a tyre advantage, having pitted a lap later. on a fantastic lap though, Carbon Boy. He's up on his best time. The King Oscar has also pitted. Excalibur has pitted. And he's now right deep within the slipstream of King Oscar in front. Sticks his nose at the inside, trying the Kazi tactic it seems, but not quite working out for him that time.
Chase has had a shocker somewhere. He's in 7th spot.
That is quite interesting. He, well, I think that might just be down to his earlier incidents. He didn't have an error on pit entry, so I'm going to go ahead and say that's just due to his last stint. But I'm sure he's got plenty of pace underneath him, and if he can get past the Moth, he may be able to pull time to Excalibur in front. But he has had a couple of significant race errors, so he is struggling a little bit at the moment. Well, we now know all the guys have pitted, so I think we're looking at current standings as they are all track position. So we're looking at Debrev, currently P9 in the Alpha, really struggling to make the car work at the moment. It really struggles in the straight line, and we all kind of knew coming into this round that it was going to be a bit painful around here, being so reliant on power at this particular track. So he's done well to keep it together so far. He's only 5 seconds off the next driver. The next driver being Jim Bob, of course, our pole sitter from the very beginning. With hey, it's an extra point. It counts for something. And P8's also going to be worth plenty of points, I'm sure. But a couple of issues that have cost him a bit of race time, particularly that penalty spin. Simple error, and not a huge mistake, but just huge consequences to it. So, these things happen in motorsport. Flat stick. Oh, we jump to him just as he makes an error around the final corner, cuts it a bit much, and gets a little bit sideways on exit there. Currently sitting P7 after a pretty tumultuous race. He had a really, really good first stint, and then it all fell apart in the second stint, and it seems to be continuing to do so at the moment. So struggling a little bit in that Ferrari. The Moff now in the Honda, the first of the Honda runners, has got a decent gap to flat stick behind, and he's looking at Excalibur, father and son here. The Moff and Excalibur together on track again, just 2 seconds separating them at the moment. Excalibur, of course, in the Hyundai Genesis, up here in P5 with 1.3 seconds to the King Oscar in the Viper, who's looking pretty good after a pretty dodgy early stint. Not looking too flash at the end of his first go around the track, but he's looking pretty good at the moment in P4. P3 now, Carbon Boy is less than a second behind the Crazy One after his fantastic undercut. He's done a very good job here so far, and it looks like the tyre wear advantage that Crazy had in that middle stint has started to fall away here. So it may come back to him as the race continues on. He's got a McLaren either side of him, and it looks like that Ferrari generally does have better tyre wear than the McLarens that are currently sitting around it. But it remains to be seen what he can do with the tyres as he comes towards the end of the stint, of course. It looked like he really had a good, strong head on his shoulders in that middle stint, which we were talking about. It's all about your mental strength and your endurance to put in the good laps for as long as you can in that middle stint when there's really no end goal in sight and you don't have that adrenaline from the start where you're racing other cars. But he did a very good job in there, but he's now sitting 6 seconds behind Filthy and starting to drop back a little bit as he starts feeling the pressure from Carbon Boy here. So we'll have a look back now. Carbon Boy deep in the slipstream, 0.65 behind. He's going to have a good straight line speed advantage as they come towards Griffin's Bend, but I don't think he's going to be close enough for a move. We'll watch and see. Looks like he's not really working too hard to stay in that slipstream either. He's just kind of holding it together for now, just trying to keep a good pace here. And that gap to Filthy as well, still hovering around the 6 second mark, and I think it'll only be a couple more laps before we start seeing the difference in the tyres really coming into play. Flat stick still working the car, 4.7 down from the Moth. The Moth still just over 2 seconds behind Excalibur. That Honda can really work the top of the mountain, so let's see if he can pull that gap down a little bit. .6 it sits at, so no real advantage as they come over the top of the hill. Excalibur does have the King Oscar in his sights, so he's got that carrot dangling in front of him a little bit. When you can see the car in front and it's properly in range like that, it can give you a little bit of extra motivation. Some guys respond to it well, some guys don't, but it looks like Excalibur's really feeling it now. 1.4 seconds the gap now. Fantastic exit from Forest Elbow for the King Oscar. And we've actually had a bit of a gap open up here between Carbon Boy and the Crazy One. They were very close together until very recently, and we've missed there an incident of some kind that's put Carbon Boy 2.5 seconds back. So it looks like the Crazy One is starting to really solidify this P2. Carbon Boy, without any major issue, yeah, he's lost 2.5 seconds on that lap, just on lap time alone. So clearly an incident of some kind has really put him on the back foot here, but he's 8 seconds clear of King Oscar behind, so I think he's well and truly sorted for his podium position. But the real question is there going to be a fight for P1? I'm going to say at this point it doesn't look too promising for Kazi, but P2 is still a fantastic result if that's what he ends up with, and I think that's one he can be proud of for sure. Filthy, however, a fantastic effort so far. It's been a clinical drive, even with that what seemed to be a tyre disadvantage in the middle stint. He's held it together enough, and now he's really extending it in this final stint. The end is in sight. We've got 11 minutes left for these drivers as he heads over the top of the hill for the 22nd time. Carbon Boy coming across the top. He's pulled the gap down to Crazy a little bit, so it looks like Crazy not being able to kind of hold it together the same way he was in the previous stint in this one, or perhaps the other guys around him finding that extra gear that he had just prior. The King Oscar in no man's land once again. He's got Excalibur trailing 2.5 seconds, but there's been an error there on Excalibur's part at some point because it was 1 second. We were talking about it just before, the carrot dangling in front of him. But now that carrot is well and truly gone, and he's got his father, the Moth, breathing down his neck here. 1.7 seconds and closing as they come down the straight. A better exit there for the Moth. As they come down the straight, the Honda weaving a little bit on Conrad. They come through the sector split. He's on a good lap here. He's only 1/10 off his best, and halfway through a stint here, that's pretty good. So he's doing well. It looks like he's managing his tyre wear pretty efficiently here as the Moth. 1.7 still, the gap. We have a look on board. The Aussie Hampton Honda come across to start the 23rd lap here at Bathurst. And he's a little bit deep at T1. That's a mistake that may cost him dear. He's lost a lot of time to Excalibur in front. The commentator's curse strikes again. As soon as we jump on board, there's an error at T1. So I suppose we can take some blame for that one. Excalibur now extending the gap just over 2 seconds. 3 seconds to King Oscar in front. So King Oscar's really putting the foot down now, but he's got no answer for Carbon Boy in front. That gap now over 9 seconds or just about as he comes through the cutting. Heads up the hill. We look back now at Flatstick. 4 seconds behind the Moth and 10 seconds ahead of Jim Bob. That gap's come down by about 8 seconds, I think. What's been going on back there, Jim Bob?
I've just been driving the car and not putting it in the wall, mate. It's funny what happens when things like that go your way.
Funny what happens when you have a couple of clean laps, eh? So that gap to Flatstick is coming down pretty considerably, so we could see a challenge on in the final stages for that P7 for Jim Bob. Carbon Boy holding it firm in P4. So this is a pretty standard part of the race. Everyone's just trying to hold it together and close in on the guy in front. The fatigue's starting to set in. Filthy's really pulled something out of his hat for this final stint. He's now extended the gap back over 7 seconds in that McLaren. 7.5 even. Might be an error there for the crazy one. In fact, we're actually seeing Carbon Boy closing in on the Ferrari driver. As we look back now from the Ferrari of Red Mist Racing, SLM the Kazi one, fighting off Carbon Boy in the final stages of this race. We've got 7.5 minutes to go. We're probably looking at 4 more laps here. 1 second separates these two drivers, and Carbon Boy is driving his socks off right now. He's pulling the gap down as they come down the straight. Just down to 8 tenths now, nearly within slipstream range. It won't be long until he's there. Up towards Griffin's Bend. Up the hill they go. What can Carbon Boy do? Holds the gap to 8 tenths. He's not close enough for anything right now. We've got no idea what the tyre condition of either of these cars is like at the moment. We've seen so far, it looks like the McLaren doesn't quite have the same potential on the tyres, but so far, Kazi hasn't set the world on fire for this stint. He's starting to drop back into the clutches of Carbon Boy a little bit as they head over the top of the mountain. Can he hold it together? Look at Carbon Boy now. He's hit the wall there on the inside by the look of things. And Kazi's gone round. Huge incident there for Kazi, and he's lost his second spot. He's down to third. He's still clear of King Oscar by nearly 5 seconds, but that's really put him on the back foot here, and that would have worn through his tyres quite a lot, I suspect. We'll have a look as they came through. A look to the inside, just got a little bit wide, caught the grass, and around he goes. We've seen that once already this race. I forget who it was now. But we have seen an incident like that already, so clearly a common mistake. And 9 seconds to the good now, Filthy. It's been a very relaxed final stint for him. 5.5 minutes left on the clock. Carbon Boy in the second McLaren. Also holding firm. He's driven a clean race, done what he needed to do, and it's earned him a second spot so far.
That'll be 2 Tassie teams in the top 2, so there'll be a public holiday in Tasmania tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm seeing that from the good doc in chat as well. He's very proud of the Tassie 1-2, McLaren 1-2 as well, so I'm very happy with that. It is a good car around here from what we've seen, and it's looking pretty solid and set in stone at the moment. Filthy, we can almost guarantee, is going to be the winner of this race. Carbon Boy has second pretty much locked up, barring mistake, and depending on the answer the Kazi one gives him. King Oscar is probably too far behind to challenge Kazi for his position at the moment, but anything can change. There's still 4.5 minutes left. Flatstick in P5. He's got Moth and Excalibur trailing. I suspect we've missed an overtake or two there, but we're not going to be able to go back and catch them on replay, unfortunately, as it looks like he's far enough ahead to justify the fact that he may have made them a lap or so ago. But the Moth and Excalibur, they're right on top of each other now. And I think we've seen an overtake there as well. I think the Moth was behind Excalibur previously.
Yeah, I think Excalibur might have had an off coming down the hill on the last lap. And chasing, both chasing them off and just getting around them, obviously. So.
Yeah, bit of a untidy downhill there from the Moth though. Had a couple of walls there, and it's allowed Excalibur to close right back up again. Let's see what happens here. He's within slipstream range, and that gap is coming down, so the Hyundai does have the overspeed here. Looks like we've had an incident up in P3 and 4. The crazy one has regained his P2 here. We've had an incident with Carbon Boy, and it looks like the King Oscar's been in the middle of it as well, because he's gained a position out of it, and he has now got himself into the podium positions. Carbon Boy will be fuming about that one. We'll have a look now from the perspective of Carbon Boy. Gets on the grass on the exit of the chase. And as he comes back on track, he's going to cause an issue there for, nearly for the King Oscar, but manages to keep it together. So just on the exit of the chase, caught a bit of grass and spun it round, and then he nearly took out King Oscar on the way back through. But the upshot is, Filthy leads the way with 13 seconds clear of SLN the Kazi one in P2 after a fantastic drive. He had what would have been a race-ending error in his final stint, but thanks to another error from another driver, Carbon Boy, he's regained that second position and now holds a pretty solid 3.5 second lead over the King Oscar in the Dodge. As they come down the hill, has the King Oscar got a response? He is pulling that gap down a little bit. 2.9 seconds now. Carbon Boy in P4. His tyres will be absolutely shot after that spin. And he was an earlier stopper than the rest of the guys on track. So he's got every disadvantage you could possibly have right now. Can Flatstick chase down Carbon Boy? Does he have enough of an advantage to pull 6 seconds on the driver in front? The Moff in P6. Well and truly clear of Excalibur now. It looks like these guys have settled into their positions, and that's how they're going to finish. Jim Bob now 4 seconds behind Excalibur, though. He's pulled plenty of time on him. Can he pull something out of the bag? We look ahead again. The King Oscar has not made enough inroads on the Kazi one. This will be these drivers' final lap. Filthy on lap 27. Heading round for the final time with 14 seconds in his pocket. The crazy one, around T1 he goes with 3.2 seconds to the good over the King Oscar behind. A fantastic drive from both of these guys tonight. They'll be absolutely stoked with this result if it remains as it is. Carbon Boy in P4. He'll be absolutely kicking himself after that error. He really had P2 in the bag, but he may have to settle for 4th here, barring mistake from the guys in front. Flatstick now, pretty clean and clear where he is on track right about now. The Moff is very unlikely to challenge him at this point, barring mistake from himself. And speaking of the Moff, he's got 2 seconds of clear air either side of him. I think he's set in stone as well. So we might be looking at a finish as we are for these guys. Excalibur 7th in the Hyundai. Jim Bob in 8th. Not able to make inroads in the early stages of this lap on Excalibur in front. And Debrev in the Alpha in P9. Really struggling with the straight line speed of that car. We look back at Filthy coming down Conrad for the final time. Picking up speed over 200 kilometers an hour as we come down towards the final sector split. The crazy one also heading through Forest Elbow right about now. 1.8 seconds to the King Oscar behind. The King Oscar is making a final charge, but I think it's going to be too little too late as Crazy heads down Conrad Straight. And P4, Carbon Boy, what could have been for the McLaren driver. But Filthy, a stunning drive from this driver. He's done a fantastic job. Led just about from start to finish. The only thing he didn't have was pole position. Filthy takes victory at Bathurst in the final round of the Touring Car Trophy Group B.
Well done, Filthy.
The crazy one will come around the final corner, and it looks like he's got P2 all sewn up here. A flash of the lights, he's happy with that one. P2 for the Red Mist car, P3 for King Oscar in the Dodge Viper, and Carbon Boy comes across the line, P4, with a disappointing result with what could have been from P2 there, but these things happen at Bathurst. We've seen it before. And the Moth and Excalibur, are they going to cross the line together here? Just about. Father and son, 6th and 7th there in the final round. Jim Bob across the line for P8 in the Honda. And Dobrev, only 4 seconds shy in the Alpha, crosses the line for P9. And that rounds out the final round of Group B for the Touring Car Trophy here today. A great drive from Filthy. What do we reckon, Jim Bob? How was that?
Oh, that was a great drive from Filthy.
Yep.
The only thing he didn't do was get pole position, and obviously with the time he set really early on in the race, he probably should have. So
yeah, so it looks like Filthy actually underperformed in quali there, so definitely had a bit more to give, but a fantastic drive from him either way. Kazi second, of course. We'll have a quick look here at the race results as they sit. Filthy first, Kazi second, and King Oscar rounds out the podium. Carbon Boy in P4 after what could have been a second place finish, but couldn't quite hold it together. Flatstick, you could say the same. He had it in second, and it looked like he had the pace to keep it there, but a huge issue that sent him all the way back down the field really ended his race. The Moff and Excalibur, 6th and 7th, Jim Bob in 8th, and Dobrev in 9th. I'm looking at the chat. We've got a few Driver of the Day nominations there. What do you reckon, Jim Bob?
Flat stick, not flat stick, sorry. I'm going to give mine to Filthy all day.
Filthy for a dominant drive. Fair enough.
Absolutely.
I think the same. I'm not a fan of giving the guy who wins Driver of the Day as well, but I think it can't be denied here. Personally, my Driver of the Day, and I have to say I'm biased, but it is the Kazi one. My teammate, Red Mist driver, he's had a fantastic drive there and a well-deserved result that he's been missing all season, so very well done there. We've got a couple of votes in chat as well. Driver of the Day, Filthy, for a solid drive from Mr. Bumcrack. Filthy, but Kazi, Driver of the Day from Womble. The Good Doctor, Blacklight Own TCTB, 3P, so 3-time winners. Great job, Filthy. Well deserved. Great drive for Filthy. Driver of the Day, Kazi. Driver of the Day, Kazi from VF and Brocky as well. The Stranger is very happy with King Oscar's result there, so I think that's a Driver of the Day vote as well. Congratulations to Filthy, Kazi, and King Oscar. So a lot of guys are really happy with that race. Driver of the Day to Kazi from Toe Jam. Filthy for Donny Baseball, and Kazi for, I don't want to try to pronounce that, but another Kazi vote there. So it's pretty even between Filthy and Kazi for Driver of the Day, but well done to all of them either way, and a great drive from Filthy, no doubt at all. So we'll jump over now to the Group A guys. So we've got Smokescreen waiting in the wings. How have we been looking in practice, mate?
Lovely. Some excellent race runs going on here, specifically by a Porsche, currently driven by Mr. Bumcrack himself.
Okay.
He's been going around doing a race run, which was very nice. Same with Shizer earlier.
Okay. So I think a lot of guys will know, a lot of people who have been keeping up with the Touring Car Trophy this season, we've seen an absolutely dominant season from a particular driver, a Kiwi driver actually, as I'm proud to say, in Race Fan. So he's really taken the fight to these guys in Group A here. I think he was new to the Sector 1 Championship this season. We'll have a look at the Touring Car Trophy Group A points. So as you can see there, Race Fan currently with 152 points, well and truly clear of Mr. Bumcrack in second. So I think that Race Fan only really needs to finish this race with some form of points, even if they're last place points, to earn himself the Touring Car Trophy here.
I know it's also very, very early doors, but playing into that sort of conversation you're having there, currently Race Fan has the fastest practice lap of a 2 minutes 10.6.
All right, so
yes,
qualifying times we're expecting to see a little bit faster than Group B. Of course, we were looking at 2:12s there, so 2:10 is absolutely flying there in the Ferrari. So how about we put these guys to the test? Shall we start qualifying?
I say we get things underway.
All right, as we do here in Bathurst, we look to go live for the final round here of the Touring Car Trophy Group A here at Mount Panorama Motor Racing Circuit. Qualifying for 10 minutes for these drivers. We saw 2 or 3 flying laps for these guys in the last race, so we're probably going to see the same thing here.
I would probably suggest so, yes. Who do you have your eye on, or would you rather not say?
Well, I've heard things about the plumber. I've heard that he's got some real pace around here. Some people are really eyeing up the Porsche. I have to put my faith in Race Fan around here, to be fair. I think considering the performance he's put in this season, he really is a class above in this particular category at the moment. Like, he's really dominated these guys, and the wet race was just an example of that. We had that at Red Bull Ring. He absolutely walked away from the field, so he's a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure.
I do have to be rather boring here and say I do agree with you, just based off that fastest lap earlier. Obviously, I'm not sure how many attempts he had at that fastest lap, but I think it is very promising pace straight out the box.
Yeah, it's a big sign. You'd think at this point the guys have done all the practice they need. They should be able to, in theory, smash out their best time with 1 or 2 laps, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So heading around qualifying, first of the cars on track at the moment, Mr. Bumcrack, as we've been talking about him so much, there he appears in the Porsche for Auto 1, out on track in front of Magnet. So did you see any practice laps from Magnet, or I think it's not Shinobi, is it? Also driving the Alpha?
I did see, I think it was Shinobi went on a nice practice race run earlier in the lobby. Pace was 2:13s, I believe, in race trim, but then his particular race run that I was watching unfortunately ended in a little bit of an error, but not to worry. That is what practice is for, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be hoping to see good things from the Alpha, but we've heard the talk of the town is this isn't really their strongest race, and we did see, of course, in the last race the final cut across the line was an Alpha, so it looks like its strength is kind of nullified here this week.
Yeah, like we always say, you can't win them all. But
That's
who
right.
knows, maybe somebody can pull something out of that Alpha. We do have a nice handling section across the top of the mountain that it could potentially pull some punches. However, that very long straight down Conrod will obviously form some sort of equaliser, I would say.
Yeah, I think the main issue with that Alpha is that it's very hard to overtake if you're driving it. I'm sure you have a bit of experience with that, driving the Toyota 86 in the Manufacturers Series.
Oh, I do. I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
Well, handling cars are great sometimes, but terrible some other times. We look on track still, these guys on their hot laps. Stickers in what looks like a new livery for CJ Esports on that Honda, the black and orange. I do like that one quite a lot, actually.
Me too. I give it, much like the bonnet and the rear bumper of that Honda, a big thumbs up.
Awesome. We see the good doc. Well, I was talking to the good doc before, currently fourth on track. He's in two minds about this one. He's a very confident Bathurst driver as he picks up some sparks on the wall there. He's said to me before that he tends to drive quite well at Bathurst, but he knows he's up against some fierce competition, so he's not expecting a win or anything like that, but he's hoping for a solid result here against the big boys.
Sometimes that's the best attitude to have as well. If you don't put that pressure on yourself to say, I really need to win this, sometimes that can put you in the absolute perfect mind frame to just put yourself in the right position. And, we talk about racing at 90%. You don't want to race at 100 because that's when you make your mistakes.
Yeah, 8 tenths, 9 tenths, and if you can do that all day long, that's what's going to win you a 1 hour enduro, isn't it?
It's about consistency in these long races, isn't it?
Damn right. So, we're looking at the first provisional guys setting their times. Good Doc with a 212.9, Stickers with a 212.3. Shizer, the first of the 211s, goes ahead of Shinobi there for pole position in the Jag. Shizer with a new livery on the CP car as well. Now that's looking nice, blue and black. I like that one.
We've also got Race Fan just about to come across the line. We had both our eyes on him. Goes straight to the
there
top.
There we go. 1 second clear as well. Wow. Really putting his foot down this time around. So setting the bar early, I think, is the Kiwi driver.
I will say he did appear to have a little bit of a toe down Conrod Straight from the Hyundai driver.
Yep.
Of the other Tyrone.
Not to be confused with the real Tyrone, of course.
No, of course not. It's just the other one in this lobby here.
Yep. So a good lap to start off with there. Puts himself pretty firmly on pole position. Now, my talking point right now, I think, is Shinobi in the Alpha has put himself in 3rd position.
Wow, that's not bad, is it? How is that Alfa Romeo off the start, Atom?
I think it's pretty good. I think we've seen it, it's not a very long run to T1. So the Alpha being mid-engine, of course, has plenty of traction straight off the bat. From what I know, basically up until the point where you hit gear 3, it's actually one of the fastest cars off the line. So
that's not bad as well. And we also, it must be said, 3rd position being the odd number, I believe is the inside of the track, isn't it? Towards turn 1?
Would be too, yeah. I think that's correct. So that could be an advantage to him as well. Yeah, so he'd have to get by Race Fan and Shizer, and that Ferrari, having said that, is no slouch either. But the Jag is an FR car, so it might not actually have the greatest start. I think we're yet to see it start from a competitive position this season because there's been a lot of handling races so far, so that Jaguar hasn't really had a chance to shine through and start near the front. But this will be one of those times.
Yeah, I think Shizer gives us a good opportunity at being able to see exactly what that Jaguar can do, given the pace out in qualifying as he heads into the pits for his second run.
So he's going to go in. 3 minutes left on the clock. We've got Gur and Darkside setting their times as well. A 2:12 flat for Darkside puts him in P4. So not a bad place to be in that Porsche. We've still
definitely in the mix.
I think we've still got Mr. Bumcrack yet to set a representative lap time in the Porsche. So he was one we had our eyes on. He's on a hot lap at the moment. He's side by side with Stickers. Hopefully he'll jump out of the way there. Yep, there we go. So he slots himself in there, and I think this might be Mr. Bumcrack's one and only hot lap.
He may potentially get to the end of this particular lap with some time left to complete another lap. However, it does appear to be, on my screen anyway, his 4th lap in this run, so there will be some tyre wear issues creeping in if he does go too much longer.
Yeah, he may have been in on for some new tyres, and you may just be seeing that on your lap count there, but it will remain to be seen what he can put together. He's really pulled away from Magnet there. Back in, he's currently sitting P13 officially. I presume he's on a hot lap, is Magnet, because he hasn't set a representative lap time yet, as has Daz 930. So
some potential laps to interrupt the top of the grid a little bit. Still yet to come across the line. I've definitely got my eyes firmly on the plumber to work out what he can do.
Yep, he's looking pretty tidy this lap so far. He's kept it pretty clean, and if this is his only lap, then the pressure will be on to make sure he hits the chase right. Not far for him to go here. We'll jump on board with him as we head down. And in fact, we'll jump into the driver's view with him here. 250 k's you can see on the speedo there, 260 as he heads through the chase. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. Someone's taken out the brake markers. We've got a car rejoining there in the form of Gurrit. He's made it through though, Mr. Bumcrack, despite all the distractions. So that's very vital there. Those brake markers can be absolutely vital to making sure you get that car stopped. So when they get taken out, it can cause massive issues. Puts the foot down in that Porsche there as he heads towards the line. We come across the line, 210, 211, 212. So he puts himself up into P5, does the plumber. So not quite the position we were expecting him to be, but still not a disappointing representative lap time either.
No, I will also say with the incident we just saw at the chase there with the brake markers being knocked out, there was a car rejoining, and I think potentially Magnet may have been just interrupted slightly by the visual distraction. He got a load of oversteer on the exit of the chase.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It can be an issue there.
So if we're looking on the current standings, a 2:14 by Magnet there, so I think that has interrupted his flow.
That was his first representative lap time as well, so that could be a massive issue. We did miss there. Daz 930 did cross the line with a 212.1 or 212 flat, I think it was. Can't quite tell. My maths isn't quite right today. But he's popped himself up into P5 there. So someone we haven't mentioned too much, but he's put himself in there. Crucially as well, we haven't mentioned this as of yet. There's a couple of guys that have come up from Group B today. And I think Darkside was one of them, the bad doc, and Shizer was another one. Shizer's popped up into second with the Jag, currently coming down the hill, a second shy of Race Fan in front of him on lap time in any case. He might get himself a little bit of a tow here from the good doc.
That's obviously crucial for lap time too.
Just quickly, guys, you'll notice that the CP guys are running a special livery tonight. That's because the counterpunch side of the garage is wrapping up at the end of the race tonight, so they won't be joining us next season. So Shizer and Gera have got a special livery for that. And also stickers in the CJ Esports NSX is running a thank you livery because he is on the move to his own team next season, which is called Lightning Motorsport. So
brilliant stuff. So we missed just while we were speaking there. Speaking of these farewell liveries, Shizer was purple through into the final sector. Is he going to take on Race Fan for the top? He's almost done it. He goes 2/10 shy there of Race Fan. Just about does it. That slipstream at the end really came in clutch for him there. And we'll make sure we get a photo of this this qualifying standing as it sits, because we will have to apply grid place penalties, won't we?
We certainly will. We've got 2 drivers with grid place penalties, and my camera is poised to snap after the last 2 drivers cross the line.
All right. The other Tyrone does improve slightly, gets himself to 9th, and that's us done.
Beautiful. Took a couple of selfies while I was at it.
Oh, nice one. Plenty of time. So we will red flag these guys for now as we reset the grid to apply some penalties. So we'll let Smoke get to work on that. But a fantastic qualifying session and a lot closer than we actually expected because Race Fan, of course, was a second ahead of any other driver until Shizer set his final lap. So we'll get these guys out of here and reset the grid.
Lovely. Everyone has seen the red flags. That's beautiful work from the marshals down at Mount Panorama.
Good stuff. All right. So while you're setting that grid, we are having audio issues, of course. So while I'm not showing the race screen, you guys can only hear me, unfortunately. So you're stuck with me for a couple of minutes while Smokescreen sets the grid. So in the meantime, we'll have a look back again at the current points. So Race Fan leads the way with 152. Mr. Bumcrack in P2 with 121. Now, I believe there is just about no chance now of Mr. Bumcrack taking the victory here for the trophy series. I did see a word before from Brocky, if I'm not mistaken, that Race Fan only needs the fastest lap and or the pole position point to score himself the trophy victory. So it looks like he may have done that and wrapped it up for himself just in quali there alone. So a fantastic job from Race Fan. Shizer, who of course stepped up from Group B. That's why you can't see him on the leaderboard there. He has stepped up from Group B and popped himself straight on to the front row here in Group A. So clearly staking his claim, showing that he deserves to be here. Daz 930 as well with a fantastic quali. And I think it was Shinobi as well, who was P3 in the Alpha.
I hate to interrupt you. I know I can't be heard on stream, but I absolutely cannot work out how to change the grid. The option is grayed out.
So just to run you through, sorry, I'm just giving some technical advice to Smokescreen. So you need to go into the race settings and change the event settings to grid set by host instead of grid fastest first. I can
only see fastest first and slowest first is my only two grid order options.
You may have to reboot the lobby to fix that one up, I think.
Okay, I'll do that right now to avoid delay.
Cool. No worries. All right, so we are running a lobby reboot, guys, just because we're having a couple of technical difficulties in setting the grid. It's just GT Sport things, and it's it's not something we're not used to seeing. Apparently you can be heard, Smock. So apparently we've got you here now. So
my apologies.
That's always good. Hey, we didn't know. I don't know what's going on with this audio system at the moment, but it sounds like we're all clear at the moment, so that's all good. So we'll get that lobby down and get a new one up for you guys shortly, so just give us a couple of minutes.
I do sincerely apologise.
No, that's alright. I don't think it's something on your end, but obviously the fastest way to resolve it is to run a new one. A little message in the chat from ToeJam, little cheeky message. Oh god, that's all we need, nothing but Atom's twang. Yep. Sorry, you guys are stuck with the Kiwi accent for the rest of the night, unfortunately, and I'm sure as long as they'll have me, I'll be back for next season to do more of this for you guys. So you better get used to it. Race Fan, of course, leads the way on points, and we believe he's wrapped up the trophy now as well. Mr. Bumcrack will be looking to solidify his P2, but he's got Shinobi to beat in that little Alpha. I suspect that pace in a straight line for the Alpha is going to be a real hindrance on the way down the straights for that car. So hopefully we see a decent battle between those guys. Bumcrack, of course, starting a little bit further back. Stickers, I don't actually recall where he finished in that qualifying, but we'll have a look at that shortly. And the other Tyrone down there with 82 points will be looking to leapfrog Airborne here as he's absent for this final race as well. So some awesome liveries on display as well. We heard that insight from Jimana there, Jim Bob. So we've heard there's some farewell liveries going on. We did have a couple last week as well, and this week the CP guys are running some really cool ones, and that NSX with the black and orange looks absolutely fantastic. Oh, bit of a word in chat. CP take both drivers' titles, so that's the championship and the trophy, both won by CP drivers. You wouldn't read about it. Team title is still on the line for combined and trophy. So we'll have a look at the team points for the trophy. We haven't got the points on hand for the combined championship, but I believe Cornerstone currently 1 point clear of RCLL, but we know that Racing Cars Like Legends are driving the Alpha, and they're probably going to struggle here tonight. So I'd say Cornerstone more or less have this wrapped up. Obsession could, of course, throw their hat into the mix because they're not far behind either. And then Ragged Edge down in P4 with 201 points there. Now, I'll see if quickly I can add in, because I don't have this set up on the OBS at the moment, but I do have access to the Combined Teams Championship, which could be important for us. So let's have a look here. There we go. That's probably a little bit large for you guys, though, I would say. So there you go. There's your combined team standings. So Cornerstone lead the way in the combined and in the trophy championship standing as well. 9 points separate them from RCLL. So still another opportunity again. So if we hark back to The Group B race, it was won by Filthy, who does not drive for either of those teams. And then second, of course, was the Red Mist driver of Kazi. They currently sit down P11, so they would have increased their points, but I suspect they're a little bit too far off Counterpunch to make inroads there. I don't think we actually had a cornerstone driver in Group B, so I think we could be seeing the Alphas scoring some decent points here, but it depends what the guys do around Bathurst. Of course, anything can happen, and it's an hour race, so it really will throw some stuff out there. But we'll see what happens for this one. Is that the one labelled Group B? I'm sure it's just a technicality. It's no issue. Oh, we did have Chase driving in race 1, of course. So he did score some points there from P5. Apologies, Chase, my mistake. I'm still trying to get to grip with assigning liveries and teams to one another and just making that connection. So my mistake. But yes, there was a driver in there that did score them some points. So they've had a little bit of improvement there. And of course, we're expecting to see race fans score some points here as well. So I think it's just about wrapped up for those guys. So realistically, only the midfield teams can really swap their points around. But of course, given it's an hour-long race, we could see issues for race fan there that send him back a little bit. But I think at this point, it's pretty much all said and done. So how's our grid looking at the moment, Smoke? Oh, right, okay. Oh, the joys of rebooting a lobby. Who are we missing? That's all right. We're getting there. It's really good that we decided to throw you off the deep end on your first attempt at the race direction side of things. Of course, we could have we could have given you the one that didn't have any penalties to be applied, but we decided to give you this one just to make your life much more difficult. Oh, I'm sure you'll learn from experience, and this will be easy by the time you next have to do it. I'm sure they'll have you back as well. But we've got drivers on track practicing. The grid is currently being set. We're only moments away from getting this race underway here for the final round of Group A Touring Car Trophy. Brought to you, of course, by Aussie Hampton. No, not Aussie Hampton. Auto 1. Oh my goodness, I can't do that. That's terrible. Get the sponsors mixed up. No, Aussie Hampton's the Community Series sponsor. I'll get absolutely murdered for that one, I suspect. But that's alright. We'll get it right next time. So we do have guys on track at the moment doing some practice while the grid gets set. And then we'll be heading out onto track for 60 minutes of fantastic racing around Mount Panorama Motor Racing Circuit here in Bathurst. It's a sunny day, 4:30 in the afternoon, of course, as you guys will know, being 4:30 in the afternoon, of course. And fantastic weather for it, and no sign of things changing at this stage. So looking good. Of course, we might end up with some dynamic weather come GT7 next year. It would be very interesting to see how that's incorporated into Sector 1 in the future, but that'll probably be beyond Season 5, I suspect. So things to look forward to, of course, with Sector 1, with the Porsche series just around the corner for us. Looking like it's going to be a good season. Back to one make racing, of course, which everyone seems to be pretty happy with, and it's going to be a good season. And the time trial setup that they've got going on for assigning the lobbies, Group A and B, should be pretty awesome. A little bit of a note in chat there from Donny Baseball. The F1 starts shortly. Oh no, we're going to be competing for viewers with Formula One. How will we ever? How are we going to deal with that? I don't know. But in any case, we move along. The grid is set. We're ready to go. Let's get them underway immediately and get some awesome action underway. Take us away, mate. I want to hear a "here we go."
Oh, beautiful. And here we go for some Sector 1 here at Bathurst. Driving some Group 4 cars here.
Big range of cars as well. FR, MR, all sorts.
So obviously the different drivetrains will have their strengths, and particularly at the start, those MR cars should have better traction off the line, being a grid start, of course.
We've got Magnet here, who has popped himself up into P3.
So unfortunately for Magnet, taking the 2-place grid drop penalty.
Grassy's off to a good start in the Alpha here. I think we may have the incorrect grid order here, actually, because I don't see Race Fan at the front.
Great, absolute amateur hour going on my end.
We'll take it back to the slideshow and we'll have a look again. So you set the grid on the set grid screen, yeah? Okay. Yeah, so I've got I've got a photo here. If you'd like to go off it, I might send that through to you on Discord for you now, just to make sure that that's correct. Where are we? Apologies, guys, for the delay. We will not be long at all. Go. There's you. Alright, that's been sent through. That should be your qualifying order. I think that's a clear enough picture. Yeah, it's good enough. So you should be able to see everything there. And then you'll be applying the penalties to the two drivers who have had that chucked on them. Who was the two penalties for? Grassy's and Magnet. Sweet. Alright, so the two Alphas, I think it was. So that must have been for a late rego, I would presume. That would normally be the case. That's all right. There tends to be teething issues when we bring fresh blood in, so you're not the first. We've had new streamers start up recently and things like that, and we've had plenty of issues along the way, so you don't have to worry about that too much. We'll get it going, and it won't be an issue whatsoever, I'm sure. All right, so can we get some predictions in the chat from you guys? What do we think we'll see in this race? I'm going to say we're going to see a clean sweep from Race Fan yet again. A pole position, of course, fastest lap, and a race win here. But what do we think from the rest of the guys? Who are we expecting to see good results from? Of course, we've had, I think it was Shizer pop up in the Jaguar, and put himself in P2 up the front there, so taking out the front row. It's been good. It's been a good qualifying session, but what do we think we'll see from the guys as the race goes on? We've got we've got a Lando fan in chat. We've got someone calling Lando for the win in Sochi this evening as well. And Brocky's prediction for the podium, Race Fan, Shizer and Bumcrack. So Bumcrack, I think, starting a little bit further down the field. So he's going to have his work cut out for him to get to there. But it is an hour race, so of course he's got plenty of time to get himself there. Good Dr. Win is paying $3.50. Now those are good odds. The Good Doc pops in, I'd save your money. Well, I'm sure you'd say that, but The Bathurst Master knows no limits, of course. We could see a fantastic result there from him in this one. Toe Jam for Race Fan to win, run away with it. Shizer might give him a battle, and I hope for his last race he can keep P2. Then P3 slot will be the Plumber or Shinobi. And Shinobi, I think, is driving the Alpha, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be an awesome result if he does get it. Race Fan by the Conrod Straight, Shizer, and then Shinobi. So a lot of people back in Shinobi for this one. Brilliant stuff. Let's get these guys underway. And hopefully no issues this time around for these guys. Well, we got there in the end. So round number 6, the final round of Season 4 here at Bathurst. Mount Panorama Motor Racing Circuit in the beautiful Australian sunshine. Race Fan holds pole position from Shizer, Bumcrack and Shinobi. A Ferrari on pole and an F-Type in P2. What are we going to see from Shinobi? Shinobi in P3. So it looks like you were mistaken about your call for P3 to be on the inside. Looks like P3's on the outside.
It does appear to be so, yes. I thought P1 was on the inside on the last race, but obviously getting that incorrect. But I'll let you call
look
the
at a
start.
Porsche there. Porsche with a fantastic start from Mr. Bumcrack, puts himself up into P3. Shizer's going to try around the outside of T1 and goes around the outside of Race Fan. That's a fantastic start for the CP car. Absolutely amazing. We look back now, Race Fan is still there, of course, as we expect to see. I don't know if we've had any incidents further back, but it looks like these guys are already running away with it. Mr. Bumcrack falling behind a little bit. Race Fan looks to the inside, goes a little bit deeper on the brakes, but he can't quite get through this time around.
All clean off the back too. Everyone, I would not say line astern, but everybody is in the same pack.
It's looking good so far. Looks very professional from these guys. You can't really split them at the moment. Really holding it together as they come over the top of the mountain.
They have fallen into single file further down a field, which is probably the right decision to do, coming into the particular section of track we're coming into. Reed Park, Solomon Park, John Hinksman Vista, Brock Skyline downhill.
Oh, we've had an incident there for Gurr in P6, I think it was. He's now dropped to P7. He's picked up a little bit of dirt on his way through in that Jag. He's lost him a position, but he's kept it together. Stickers into the wall there for P10.
P8 has had an incident, now down to P10. Daz, 930, has lost his car on the exit of the dipper. Very easy to do, of course, the very significant elevation change.
Oh, very, very hard mountain to drive down, especially with a lot of traffic in front of you. Let's have a look back at that and see exactly what happened to him as he came down there. Came across Brock's Skyline, down the hill. Does he just get it a little bit loose here? Oh no, it wasn't until he hit the dipper that he just got the tail end loose and put it straight into the wall. A little bit of contact from behind as well. Never helps. But of course not a lot of the guys could do there as well. Race Fan has got the better of Shizer here for P1, so the race lead has changed. We will have a look at shortly if we can see that replay, a replay of that move taking place. But the upshot is, Race Fan leads the way from Shizer in the final round of the Touring Car Trophy on lap 2 here at Mount Panorama Motor Racing Circuit. And crucially, Shinobi's made his way up to P3 and ahead of Mr. Bumcrack in that Alpha. So doing a good job at the moment. He weaves on the straight, trying to break the toe and avoid letting Mr. Bumcrack catch up to him as best he can. And he's got a little bit of pressure, does the Plumber, from dark side behind as well. So the two Auto 1 cars, nose to tail at the moment. So are we going to see a bit of teamwork here to let these guys go through?
There is always that question, of course. Yes, the two teammates, nose to tail, could definitely play into their hands very well.
Absolutely. We have a look at a replay now of that overtake, we think. So it was simply down Conrod Straight. A better run out of Forest Elbow for Race Fan, takes the lead from Shizer and is well and truly ahead before they even get into the chase. So a tidy move from that driver, and he's continuing to lead the way, but Shizer has not let him go just yet. That Ferrari, as we've seen, it's looking pretty good on its tyres, and that Jag's never been famous for being good on its tyres itself. So we'll see what continues to happen here.
Can we expect the Ferrari's tyres to die off a little bit as it gets deeper into the stint, or is that not so much of a problem in the current spec of these cars?
Well, I think the Ferrari has some of the better tyre wear out of the cars on track at the moment. The Alfa, of course, we've seen over the course of the season does have the best tyre wear out of every car here, but the Ferrari hasn't been too bad. I think it's been one of the better as well, but it depends how the guys handle themselves on the downhill. It can be very easy to get a car loose down there, so I think it all depends on the driver at this point, and if Scheizer's got his wits about him, he may be able to get something done here as well.
Further down a field as well, VF in P12 is under significant pressure from the double Alfa Romeo, perhaps putting on a pincer movement down towards Murray's corner. But yeah, I would be feeling pretty uncomfortable if I was in VF's position with the two teammates directly behind.
Yeah, two Alphas looking very similar here, both with the Autobahn sign on the side. But it looks like they can't quite close up to VF here. With that straight line speed of the Honda. Not quite able to get something done, it seems.
No, it could definitely be a big day of character building for both Grassies and Magnet, suffering in that Alfa Romeo down the significantly long straights here at this circuit.
Barely picking up any time in that slipstream on the way down that straight. That Alfa is fantastic under brakes, and it does catch a little bit of time on the Honda there as it heads through, but it's not enough, and not enough to go for a move for sure. So the Alfa's currently second to last and last place, unfortunately, not really able to mount too much of a challenge to these guys.
It's going to be a tough old day down there for sure.
I think so. Speaking of Alphas, we've got a lot of pressure for Shinobi now, who's currently sitting in P3, followed very closely by Mr. Bumcrack and Darkside, the two Auto 1 cars. So roles reversed, very much so. We got two teammates in Porsches chasing down an individual in an Alpha. So this could be a battle to bear watching as well. Could be seeing some similar things here from these guys that we were talking about back there. Gurr there hiding in the background as well in the Jaguar with plenty of straight line speed to give. That Alpha has got itself nearly 4/10 of a gap to Mr. Bumcrack behind, but I think it's not going to be enough. That Porsche may fly by before we get to the chase. Here we go. We're looking at a move here. Bumcrack looks to the inside. He's going to have the inside for the entry to the chase, but he backs out of it. I think he was too late to move, and he actually gave Shinobi a bump in the rear, which allowed him to get to the chase fast enough to stay ahead. So we look again, back from Shinobi. He gets through the chase much quicker than those guys. They're backed up on top of each other. The bad doc is all over Bumcrack, and it looks like he's not too interested in staying behind at this point.
It is looking like a very juicy little battle that's beginning to hot up here, because that Alfa Romeo definitely does appear to be on the back foot a little bit. And we can put that more down to the straight line deficit than we can the driver.
Big error there for Bumcrack. He's got a lot of oversteer on the exit there, and he's just about out of slipstream. I think he is.
That's obviously not going to be very good at all for the Porsches race here. However, there could potentially be a compliant change of position here, although they are going to run side by side into turn 2, and Mr. Bumcrack does keep his position there.
Yeah, so compliance not really at the forefront of their minds at the moment. I don't know if they're on team radio together at the moment or not, but it looks like they're not fighting too hard here. But I mean, having said that, looking at that corner and the way it was kind of shaped there as they went into it, the bad doc couldn't really afford to give Mr. Bumcrack a little push into the braking zone, so he kind of had to just hold it to the outside and sit it there. But Shinobi doing really well to keep this gap to the length it is, and at the moment he's looking very solid to hold on to this P4, because he's able to lap very similarly to these guys. But the issue that he'll find as he gets a little bit sideways on the way down the hill, he's had a big error there, and there goes Mr. Bumcrack around the outside. That straight line speed easily allowing him through. Shinobi's going to try hold it up the inside at Forest Elbow. They come out side by side. The plumbers into the wall. Shinobi gets ahead, but I don't think it's going to last.
Again, we're going to see that little Alfa Romeo struggle down this straight. Let's see if Mr. Bumcrack can get a better rendition of this move that he tried on the lap previous.
There we go. Are they going to go both sides of them? I think they are. No, Darkside goes into the back of Shinobi, gives him a little bit of a push. That's not really helping his teammate too much. Shinobi's going to look to the inside. Bumcrack sweeps around the outside, manages to hold it together, takes a lot of curb on the inside, but holds it to the track. Gerback there looking for a move on Darkside as well. But Bumcrack has got himself ahead of Shinobi, and I think that might be all she wrote for the Alpha driver. Because as soon as you have a straight line speed car with that much of an advantage over you in that position, you really can't get by again.
It's definitely a case of one gets through and the other follows. The second Porsche goes up the inside at Hell Corner.
Wow. And there we go. That's 2 positions lost, and it could be another one here because that Jag will be a lot faster in a straight, and all it has to do is look up the inside because Shinobi will be trying to stay in that slipstream for as long as possible. He goes defensive early just as Gur moves to the inside, so he's going to hold that position right now, but it looks like it's only a matter of time here before Shinobi falls down the pack further and further and further.
I think it would be interesting at this point to get some viewpoints on tyre wear up and down the field a little bit. Would you like me to investigate, Atom?
What have you got for us, mate?
Currently, I have the Jaguar driven by Gur, significantly worse tyre wear than the Alfa Romeo, currently in 5th.
Okay.
By about maybe 40% more on the Jaguar.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, not quite.
Oh, we've had an error
incident.
there. We've had a big incident for the bad doc. Was working together with his teammate, or rather not, and Shinobi's lost it as well there.
Goodness me, the race has just imploded as we began to take a little bit of a calmer look.
As soon as we start trying to take the attention away from the action, we've had incident after incident there. So we'll have a look now on board with the bad doc. What happened here? I think it's going to be a very similar incident to what we've seen from a lot of guys so far. Puts 2 wheels on the grass and around he goes. There it is. And that's what we're looking at. And we'll have a look as well at what happened to Shinobi as he came down here. Just fully sideways coming down the hill and straight into the wall. So 2 birds with 1 stone in that one, and Shinobi has now found himself in P13 along with the 2 other Alphas. So it's really gone sideways for Shinobi very quick here. The 3 Alphas way down the back, they don't have an answer.
Definitely a tough old day for the Italian mark, Alfa Romeo.
VF's got himself
Alfa
a penalty
Romeo
as
cars.
well. Yeah, they're really struggling, and VF's going to find himself in last place after he serves his penalty pretty significantly. But I'm sure he'll chase the Alphas down and make them work for those positions. But it looks like they're going to really struggle to make something happen out of this race. Solid group here as well.
We kind of expected those Alphas to be a little bit off the pace, but I'm not sure if we expected them to be this far off.
Yeah, I think it's just such a battle for them. Oh, Daz
Change
930.
Position
Ooh.
here. Daz having a little bit of an incident at Griffin's Bend.
Yeah, he got a little bit sideways on the inside curb and nearly ended up putting stickers into the wall, and he has put stickers off the back of the Good Doc and Dadson up in P7 and 8. But it looks like Stickers has managed to keep it together. It's dropped Daz down to 11th place here, just ahead of Grassy's in the middle of the Alpha pack. So he's going to have a little bit of work to do to get himself out of there as well. We look further up the field. The other Tyrone has got himself ahead of Darkside after the Bad Doc's earlier incident on the way down the hill. We've seen so many cars do it already today. That's the 3rd one, I think. The other Tyrone into the wall on the exit of Forest Elbow there, but he manages to hold position from the Porsche behind.
That Porsche currently also carrying a very significant tyre disadvantage on the rears, so that could potentially be affecting traction out of the low-speed corners.
Yeah, it'll affect traction, and it'll also make the car a lot more unstable on the way down the hill. With a mid-engine layout, it can be really painful. A lot of Morse code on the rear bumper of the other Tyrone there as they head through the chase as well. Really closing up on the brakes. Not afraid to give them a bit of a bump there, but they continue on. We've got a bit of a gap up the front as we look back at our leaders. Race Fan now 1.8 seconds clear of Shizer. So Shizer tried to hang on for as long as he could, but just couldn't quite do it in that Jaguar. And he's fallen back a little bit, but he's in a solid second at the moment, ahead of Mr. Bumcrack, who's of course got the better of Shinobi after those earlier incidents. A clean race so far for Mr. Bumcrack, watching his teammate and of course Shinobi have some serious incidents that have just allowed him to pop up into third place with no issues whatsoever. Gurr and the other Jaguar as well, the second of the CP Motorsports cars, doing well in fourth position. The Jag seemingly an excellent choice around here today. And Bad Doc has got the better of the other Tyrone down there in P6. So Darkside's popped himself up into P5 here.
Very nice. I'd also just like to comment a little bit further down the field on Dadson currently in P8. That Dodge Viper is really, really suffering with its tyres. We're probably upcoming on over 60% tyre wear on especially that front right tyre.
Wow.
So I think it's beginning to drop like a stone at this point. Absolutely just praying is Dadson for his pit window to open.
Absolutely. He's we're probably not looking at a pit stop for another couple of laps as well, 45 minutes in. If you're pitting now, you're looking at a 3-stop realistically, so
it's definitely going to be tough. And then what is the pit loss around here?
I'm unsure. I think we're looking at about 15 seconds, so it's pretty significant.
Seconds, yeah.
And I think the hot tip was avoid the 3-stop as of last week. The good doctor actually, who we were talking about a little bit earlier, the Bathurst specialist, is starting to pile a little bit of pressure onto Dadson. What's his tyre wear like comparing to the car in front?
Are we talking dark side?
Good Doc. Good Doc down in P9.
My apologies. We are looking. Not bad, actually. So the Good Doctor carrying about 50% tyre wear on the front right, and that is its worst tyre. The rears are fairly similar. The front left is actually not too bad, considering the stage of the race we're in. I'm definitely going to put my bets on the Good Doctor getting an overtake on Dadson potentially in this coming lap.
All right. Speaking of guys getting close here, Shinobi there's popped up into 10th place after the earlier incidents, and he's now very close to the back of the Good Doc. And we of course saw some fantastic pace from Shinobi earlier. Look at how much he closes up there through that first corner. His tyres must be in fantastic shape.
That's exactly what I was going to pipe in and say there, Atom. His tyres are absolutely impeccable. They're just no comparison. I mean, you could almost look at the tyre wear and think he's done a pit stop. It's that much better.
Wow. All he's done is have a crash,
absolutely
really.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
That's impressive. So that's that advantage of the Alpha that we've seen all this season. I think it's tyre wear. So it's looking pretty good at this stage then. So maybe not all said and done for Shinobi at this stage.
I think it's nice to finally see something good coming from that Alfa Romeo. Very tough at the start when all of these other cars have their full tyre life left. But it's nice to see at the ends of the stint that Alfa Romeo does begin to come in and play a part.
Yeah, Shinobi's really showing some good pace at the moment. He's obviously managed to pop himself into third for quality. Look at how close he is to the Good Doc. Wow, through that corner. The mid-corner speed in that Alpha is just fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. He's a lot closer than that McLaren than I'll ever get to a McLaren.
Oh, he's had an incident though.
On the exit there, getting perhaps a little bit too overconfident with the amount of pace, the difference in pace he had on the two cars ahead, perhaps trying to push too hard to try and get close, to try and get a move done at the end of the straight.
Well, he really has to work it to get in there, doesn't he? Like, he has to get so close, and then he really struggles. We've had a bit of a change for the lead though, crucially. Shizer has got ahead of race fans, so I think we've had a crash there for the Ferrari driver.
Yes, unfortunately, I was not casting my eyes up to the front of the field. I thought that was a fairly set in stone position for now, but I will say on lap 7, race fan putting in a lap about 3 seconds slower than all the rest of his laps, so potentially having a little bit of an issue on that lap. I mean, not even potentially, I would say definitely. Okay,
so we've had an incident a little while ago, and now he's trying to kind of claw his way back. So we've had early stoppers come in, Stickers is in, as well as Magnet and the Good Doc. So those guys, of course, we were looking at them, and their tyres were not looking fantastic. I'm going to assume that Shinobi stayed out. He has in that Alpha, and he's behind Dadson now, so it looks like he may have had another error at some point.
Perhaps, yes. However, Dadson probably carrying close to 85-90% tyre wear on the front right.
Oh,
just
wow.
Absolutely awful. Locking up that inside front right on the entry to Griffin's Bend there. So that Alfa Romeo is really got to be looking to try and get past this Dodge as quick as possible.
We might see a repeat of the last lap. It's very hard to follow as Shinobi goes wide at the cutting. You can't do that.
No, you can't do that. He's done a Jamie Whincup on 2020 Bathurst, running wide on the entry to the cutting, which obviously put the 888 car out in that edition of Bathurst. But casting our attention back here.
Yeah, not looking at too much damage-wise, but of course he's lost plenty of time there, and Dadson is going to be able to maintain that position for this lap, I think. So we'll look ahead again. Race fan still 1.5 down on Shizer, so these guys kind of holding firm with their positions at the moment. We're probably going to see a pit stop this lap. Will both of them blink, or will one continue on? I suspect the smart thing to do would be to both pit at this point.
I would probably tend to agree. I can't imagine the overcut being particularly powerful here because it's such a long lap. It's going to be so difficult to try and get an actual advantage on your extra lap of very worn tyres. And they both go in, but do they both make the pit entry?
We saw incidents last week, and I think they're both in pretty clean. Mr. Bumcrack as well is not far behind, actually, only 4 seconds. So that incident with Race Fan has actually brought him back into contention a little bit. The other Tyrone comes in. Does he make the pit entry? It looks like he has, pretty clear. And Dadson next with his 80% worn tyres.
It's about 90 now.
He's really working the fronts, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to have a full celebration. I'm sure he's popping the champagne just for making it to his pit stop.
Oh man, he really had to work it there. So
yeah.
Our leaders are out though, and they've had no issues with the guys behind, so nobody's come too close to them to trouble them this time around. The good dog's out in P7.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. It's good dog coming round. He's not going to get by the guys in front of him there. Stickers and the other Tyrone do come out ahead, but he's popped himself up into P8 there.
So not a bad return there.
Yeah, he's done all right, but he is going to have his work cut out for him now as good dog because he's going to have to run a longer stint this time around.
He will, certainly. I mean, the 2 cars up ahead of him, the other Tyrone and Stickers, do appear to be fighting a little bit. I had a little portion of contact coming through Griffin's Bend. It separated itself out a little bit, but potentially the good doctor should keep his eyes peeled for any incidents coming out of these 2 drivers ahead.
Yeah, they're not quite close enough to make anything kind of work at the moment, but they may come back together at some point. I'm really interested to see how this plays out between Race Fan and Shizer, because Race Fan, of course, has been absolutely dominant this season, but he's now getting challenged by a driver who's just popped up from Group B, so this might really throw his confidence and he might not be able to have an answer for the Jaguar driver here from CP.
Definitely, that can absolutely just put you in a little bit... Put your mindset a little bit off what you're used to, sort of thing.
Yeah, these drivers both on the what seems to be the best strategy at the moment, and Mr. Bumcrack actually catching them a little bit as well. He's now shrunk that gap down to Race Fan just under 4 seconds. Unsure what his tyre wear looked like in the last stint, but I think he's in a pretty good spot as the plumber. To make something work of this.
The tyre wear of the top drivers were all fairly similar. Similar towards the end of that previous stint.
That's quite interesting because the Jaguar, of course, is not famous for having fantastic tyre wear.
No, I mean,
has
they
never been
weren't...
in the past.
They definitely weren't identical tyre wear, but they were comparable. So the Jaguar had better rears but worse fronts compared to that Ferrari driven by Race Fan, who obviously had the worst rears, so that engine in the back creating a lot of load that those rear tyres have to deal with.
He did have a spin as well, from what we can gather.
Absolutely.
I think as well. So, looking back, Gur is followed pretty closely by the Bad Dog, but we're not going to see anything from them as of yet. Race Fan does not seem to have an answer for Shizer at the moment. That gap's gone out to 1.5 second. That Jaguar is really working right now, and we're seeing, similar to what we saw in race 1, in that middle stint where the mental capacity and the mental endurance of these drivers is really coming into play, and it looks like Shizer has Race Fan covered for endurance.
Yeah, definitely. It does look to be that way at this stage in the race. Obviously, fatigue comes into play in these longer races. However, we shouldn't write the Ferrari off. We saw that it did have, we've seen previously that its tyre wear is not too bad. So potentially just letting the Jaguar have a little bit of breathing space for now, but it could come back a little bit later.
I agree, and I think that Ferrari is going to start stretching its legs pretty shortly. And of course, we can't forget about who's driving it as well. He's already crowned himself the winner of the Touring Car Trophy. He's the fastest man on the field right about now, according to points anyway. So if anyone's going to chase down Shizer, it's going to be this man in the Bez Media Ferrari here. So this will most certainly bear watching.
If it's possible, it will happen. If it's possible, Race Fan will be the one to make it happen.
I think so as well. I think it's going to take a mammoth effort because Shizer's looking fantastic right now. But Race Fan's going to have his wits about him, and he's going to be working at it all race, I think. With a margin of this size, just under 1.5 seconds, the car is close enough to make you go, I can catch this guy. So I think he's really going to put his foot down at some point very shortly.
Definitely, and I'm not sure about yourself, Atom, but I've found that sometimes backing off, just exactly as we're seeing with Race Fan to Shizer, can just help you calm down and just help refresh yourself and get yourself pepped up and ready to make another move.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of guys. There's two kinds of drivers in this world: the guys that love being in a slipstream train, and the guys that love to have clear air in front of them. And I think that might be what Race Fan's valuing right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not one of the drivers that like slipstream, but I can understand the benefits.
Most certainly. So we look back now to P4 and 5, the battle between Gur and Darkside here. Bad Doc for position number 4 here, looking to chase down the podium runners, and Gur closes right up. Bad Doc closes right up to Gur there in the CP Jag. That Jag in the black and blue looks absolutely fantastic, but it's really being put through its paces here as it comes over the mountain. That front engine, rear wheel drive layout has served it well so far this race, but does it have an answer to the Porsche behind the long geared Cayman?
It's going to be difficult, I think, because Darkside does really appear to be absolutely pushing the real limits of that Porsche Cayman. The evidence I have for that, the tyre wear on that Porsche is significantly worse than that Jaguar already, having only pitted 3 laps ago.
Okay, so that's an interesting development. He's really working it, but that Jag is probably going to end up starting to walk away from it fairly soon because he's got that tyre advantage, doesn't he?
Absolutely, and that advantage has just increased itself even further just throughout the course of this one lap. That tyre wear gap has opened up, the Porsche losing pace.
And the Porsche now in slipstream as well. He's not going to be close enough to go for a move here. That Jag's just got far too much pace in a straight line, but Darkside is not interested in looking after his tyres whatsoever. He's putting his foot through the firewall every time he hits the brakes here and closing up as much as he possibly can to that Jaguar in front. He's giving it absolutely everything here.
Absolutely. I was just looking further down a field. The good doctor getting a little bit out of shape in the braking towards the chase. It was so close to a little bit of coming together with the other Tyrone driving the Hyundai, but they just about got there okay. The good doctor just falling behind the Hyundai for now.
Well, I think he's definitely close enough to go for a move on the next straight here as Good Doc, but depends where he's at with his tyres and such. P8's not a bad spot to be in though. I think he was hoping for somewhere along the lines of a top 5 for this sort of race, so he's not far off his ambition.
No,
I think he's definitely got
a
a shot at it.
It's tough to say. There's a couple of points here. I'm just going to pause on that moment for a second as he's showing the nose up the inside of Griffin's Bend. It looks like he's going to go for that move, actually, and the McLaren does make its way up the inside at turn 2 on the Hyundai. Very easy, clean-cut, textbook move done, helped by the camber on the inside of that turn, and that is the good doctor up into 7th position.
It was facilitated a little bit by the other Tyrone as well there. I think gave him plenty of space on the inside. Just fantastic amount of racing room. Good Doc had all the space he needed there to get through as well.
Absolutely. Perhaps the other Tyrone may be thinking the McLaren might be the better car to have in front of him at the moment, because we can, of course, use the slipstream to our advantage and gain some pace off a faster car up ahead.
He may be thinking about Dadson chasing behind as well. He's actually put his nose in there for a position change there as well. That Viper's looking pretty good at the early stages of this stint.
Absolutely, but I bet you can't guess what's going to be the absolute bane of that Dodge's existence in about a lap's time. Try and have a guess, Atom.
Well, it's not going to be tyre wear, obviously.
Well, that is where you're horrifically wrong. It's going to be the tyre wear, yeah.
So, as far as pit stops, I remember the Good Doc did pit a lap early. I don't know if Dadson did as well. I think he managed to get himself all the way through to the 40-minute mark.
He did, yes. He did.
The other
with the rest of the
Tyrone
pack
as well, yeah. I'm not sure where he pitted as well.
The other Tyrone has some nice-looking tyres at the moment, so I might go so far as to say he probably pitted right on that 40-minute mark.
Okay. So he's got there as well. So Good Doc's kind of in the worst spot out of all these guys.
Yeah, and that is reflected in his tyre life at the moment. I mean, he's got ahead on the previous lap, but he is struggling a little bit to actually stretch that gap out. So the Hyundai is still hassling as the Hyundai goes wide on the exit of Hell Corner, and that's just going to allow the Dodge Viper driven by Dadson to make his way up into 8th position. It will be difficult for him to stay there with the level of tyre wear that's beginning to creep in, but unfortunately for Tyrone, down in 9th.
Yep, so he does drop back a little bit. We've got a serious battle going on here between Gur and Darkside as well, and Stickers is looking to kind of throw his hat in amongst the mix as well. And then Mr. Bumcrack, of course, he's got himself plenty of clear air right now to Race Fan in front, who's still hovering about the same distance behind Shizer and P1. So not a lot going on for these guys up here. Especially not compared to the World Championship battles we've got going on for P7 and for P5 as well. So a lot of action down in the midfield at the moment, it seems.
The midfield is the place to be if you want some nice camera angles, that is for sure.
Yeah, Good Doc holding it together ahead of Dadson at the moment. Dadson putting in what seems to be the drive of his life. He's really holding it together at the moment. P8 currently in Group A, where he spent most of the season, I think, but really putting in a solid effort now, and I think he's got a good chance of having a crack at Good Doc here as the other Tyrone closes right up there under brakes into Forest Elbow.
Yeah, I think it could be very quick. People can be very quick to look at drivers further down the field and sort of cast and make an opinion based on where they sit in the field. But we do have to remember, he is a promotion up from Group B, so he's doing very well to actually be in the mix for some of these lower midfield positions.
Yeah, Group A, of course, there's some really high standards here. We saw, as Good Doc goes a bit wide there and gets muscled off by Dadson on the exit of the chase. Oh, he's held it together. I think that might be actually a redress by Dadson as well on exit there. Just a little bit of a lift off the throttle just to allow Good Doc to have that position back. I'm not sure. Looks like that Hyundai's getting backed up a little bit there as they head through. But the stewards will chase that up themselves. There's a couple of alphas starting to come back into the mix as well here as these guys battle with each other and start falling back a little bit. And the tyre wear, of course, we know the alphas are fantastic for tyre management, so they'll probably be starting to become more strong as this stint goes on.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely a reflection in the tyre wear. Absolutely, it's a bit of an incident at the back. Change of position and a swing around on Shinobi down in P13, who's looped it around and hit the inside wall on the exit of turn 1.
It goes from bad to worse for Shinobi.
Shinobi really having a tough time. I think what can happen is you make one mistake and it ends up frazzling you, and then you just never get back into the right mind frame for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and it can be so disheartening in a car like that. Like, to have a chance at this race, you need to be up the front from start to finish. You can't pass anyone. You have to undercut them, or, you know, somehow strategize your way past. And when you're in that sort of position, there's just not much you can do.
It's such a tough place to be too. I've been there driving the 86 in manufacturers. I mean, I know what it feels like. I'm really feeling for Shinobi at this point.
Yeah, it's a hard place to be in, but it's kind of a track that these Alpha guys, I mean, they picked their car based on the tracks that we had on offer for this calendar season, and they had a fantastic advantage in almost every track up until this one, so this just has to be one of those tracks where they kind of take their medicine and deal with the disadvantage they end up with, because they've had such a good run all season.
Can't win them all, like we said at the start. However, who can potentially win this one is Race Fan up in P2. He's actually done some work and closed that gap back to Shizer to under 1 second. So not quite in the slipstream range yet, but he can potentially expect to be within that slipstream very, very soon.
The tyres might be coming into play here. What are we looking at between these two?
Absolutely. So the tyre wear is not too different. However, the front tyres on that F-Type driven by Shizer are worse at the moment compared to Race Fan, who has the worst rear tyres compared to the Jaguar. But I think it's the turning and the front tyres is where you potentially want more grip if you can choose an end of the car to try and have more grip on.
Okay, so they're looking like they're in pretty similar shape at the moment, so it's really coming down to driver skill who's going to take this out of the pair of them. But Shizer's just pulling away over the top of this mountain. The gap is extending and extending. Like, he's driving with such confidence right now.
Absolutely. Across the top of the mountain, he's just absolutely flown. That gap remaining about the same as it was when we rounded Hell's Corner on this lap 16 here at Bathurst. But I'd really love to see if that Ferrari can try and get into the slipstream down the hill. I don't think he's quite managed to do it, getting a little bit squirrely out of the dipper.
The exit of Forest Elbow can always be very important. It looks like that Ferrari is exceptionally close now, and he's done it. So he's now within touching distance of Shizer. I don't think he'll get a move done down to the chase this time around, but this sort of distance to the next car is absolutely vital for his race as it goes on.
That's perfect. I mean, he's closed that gap down from about the slipstream range, 7.5 tenths at the start of Conrod, all the way down to about 2 tenths in the length of one straight. That's just absolutely incredible, the legs on the Ferrari once it gets into tow.
I think Shizer will be sweating mac and cheese balls right about now, as a good Daniel Ricciardo would say. This is where the pressure starts really coming in. You've seen Race Fan trailing you at the same pace, and then suddenly he's found this extra burst of pace on this last couple of laps and pulled in a gap that he has absolutely no right to. And Shizer will feel like he has no answer right about now, I suspect.
Yeah, definitely. In Shizer's position, you can definitely find yourself looking in the rear mirror more than out your front window. And that, of course, just another car being so close behind you can literally just be the source of a mistake. I think we do have a pit stop further down a field in P6 by Gurr, who's gone in for his second stop.
All right, that's a very early second stop. He's got 24 minutes left to go just about. So a long way left on track.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll see some drivers do an extra 2 laps, some of them, compared to Gurr, before going in for their second stop. So Gurr potentially trying some undercut tactics. However, it will be not good for his race if he does get swamped by these slower cars that he's come out ahead of.
Well, it looks like he's managed to hold on to P6 there. As we look back, he's just managed to stay ahead of these guys. So,
that Dodge struggling. That Dodge is struggling once again. We're seeing the same in the Dodge. After making one mistake at turn 2, has just been driven past by 2 drivers with another 2 directly behind.
These guys are all over each other right now, but I think Gurr has been very lucky to come out ahead of these guys, and they're going to have to pit in a couple of laps time or so, and they'll just disappear from his rear view as quickly as they came, I think.
And then casting some attention back up to P2, we've got Race Fan, who's very, very far in the slipstream. And Shy's putting on the right indicator, going down into the chase, coming into the fastest corner on the circuit. I think, is this move going to happen? It looks like Race Fan's got to sweep around the outside.
Wow,
into
well, he's
the
not
chase,
quite done it,
over as
though.
he's gone onto the grass. Oh, that's not the way I'm sure Race Fan wanted that particular move to go. He tried to get it done, and I think Shizer tried to comply, but he just overcooked it on the brakes, perhaps getting a little bit too overconfident.
I'm going to agree with you, and it was a very interesting tactic to bump Shizer in towards the chase, because that really took away his advantage coming up to it in that overspeed, and he's really put himself on the back foot now, and he's really back to square one, just over a second
really
behind
is.
now.
He's put in a lot of work to try and catch up to the back of that Jaguar, and we also have to think about like the chunk of the tyres that he may have taken out of his car trying to catch that gap back up. So he's now got less tyres than he had before with the same gap to make up. He's definitely not put himself in the best position here compared to earlier.
Yeah, and he's lacking confidence now. You can just see it with after those dirty tyres. He's gone through Murray's and Hell with dirty tyres and noticed the difference, and so he's gone very tentatively through Griffin's Bend, and even up these last couple of corners he's lost time to Shizer all the way up. So yeah, he's absolutely back to square one here, and I think if Shizer was trying to comply as they came down the chase there, I don't know if that was the right decision, because right now he's got track position, and I think that's what he needs to fight to maintain, because I think as soon as Race Fan gets ahead, he has the opportunity to pull away because he's got the pace to do it.
Absolutely, and especially coming into this second and final pit stop, I'm assuming, of these two drivers, I would think the Jaguar probably wants to be ahead to give himself the best chance of trying to just keep the lead, because that's what you're looking for in the last 20 minutes of this race.
Yeah, I don't really see the benefit to Shizer conceding the position to the Ferrari at any point from here on out. Perhaps for the final stint, rather, if he was to sit behind and save tyres, for example, for half the stint, then it may benefit him late on. But at this point, he really should be trying to enter the pit stop ahead of Race Fan.
Definitely. I think it got a little bit awkward because I'm not sure they quite communicated with each other effectively on that last lap, because it looked like the Ferrari wanted to stay behind, giving the bump draft to Shizer, but Shizer had the indicator on as they both dive into the pits, or Shizer dives into the pits as Race Fans follow. He does, and I think they both make the entry without incident.
Bum cracks in as well. I'm sure a certain Sean Ghost Muller will have been turning in his grave watching that incident down towards the chase between those guys. A little bit of, oh no you go, oh no you go. It would have been just race, come on guys, from that particular man. But in any case, we continue on. We see these guys going on. The first three are in the pits. Gurr coming around in fourth position. Does he enter the pits as well? No, he doesn't.
He looks like he pitted really early, remember? So this is his undercut playing in.
Well, it looks like he's not going to catch those guys in front. He does have Darkside behind as well. I presume Darkside was a lap later than Gurr on the pits.
I would say so. There's significantly better tyre wear on that Porsche at the moment. Almost a lap's worth, you'd say.
So the Plumber's in kind of the worst position here because he's got 8.5 seconds to Race Fan in front of him, and he'll be looking at that and going, there's no way I'm catching that guy. But he's got 5.5 seconds back to go behind, so he'll also be able to be kind of complacent with where he's at, and that could really trap him into driving too slow and allowing Gurr to catch up. Although Gurr does have a rearview mirror full of Darkside.
Definitely, it's hard to say what you'd do in Mr. Bumcrack's situation here. I think potentially you'd either just be waiting for the top two to begin to fight, and I mean, we saw that little bit of an incident, so maybe there is a little bit of a battle brewing between the two up ahead. It's hard to say whether they'll battle for 8 seconds worth of time loss. So I'm not sure whether the Plumber will just sort of relinquish the fact that he may just sit in third and just try and bring home third at this point.
Yeah, I think it depends on how good Shizer's defence is, because I think Race Fan's not going to be afraid to go for a move and try to get that position change done, because he'll have confidence that he can get ahead and stay ahead with the tyre advantage he can get himself.
Absolutely, and it's a case of earlier. The earlier the better. The quicker that Ferrari can get past, the quicker he can start to hold that Jaguar up while it has its full tyre life.
Well, I think we might have a move on here for P4 as well. We've got Darkside all over the back of Gur, but we're seeing a bit of a bump draft, so a bit more anti-Sean Ghost Muller tactics here going on here at Sector 1. Well, looks up the inside, but backs out of it late on, and we've seen... Gur's gone deep there into the chase, but he managed to hold the position there. But Darkside, once again, all over the back of the CP Jag. Is he going to go for a move here? Does the Porsche get up the inside? It does. And through into P4 for the Bad Doctor here at Bathurst, round number 6 of the Touring Car Trophy.
I will say that was a pretty textbook move at Murray's corner there. It's about the best kind of move you could expect at that corner.
It was. Gur really left the door open for him, and he sort of went to turn in, and then at that point the nose of the Porsche was there, and he was like, oh, I can't do that, so I have to leave him room now. So just Darkside putting the car in the right position at the right time allowed him to get through there, and I think he looks like he's walking away now as well.
I think in terms of Gur's race, it was probably better to do that because the risk of trying to understeer wide off Murray's corner for trying to hang it round the outside is just too high. It was just too big of a risk that he may have just ended up in the gravel trap. So I think damage limitation at this point.
I'd agree, and I think the
just
understeer
relinquishing
on the
to
Jag,
P5 was better.
Yeah, the understeer on the Jag around the outside, it just doesn't have the handling to do it around the Porsche. So probably the right thing to do. You're right.
Yeah. I definitely love to do a track walk of Bathurst. I'll just see if there's some outside negative camber on Murray's corner, because I suspect there might be.
There could be a little bit. It is a pretty funky looking corner, but I think at this point the Jag is just trying to kind of look after its tyres as well, not work them too hard.
And speaking of the Porsche gaining a significant advantage, it's purple on the current fastest lap through the previous sector. I mean, I'd be very interested to see through this sector, because there is, of course, as we know, some points or a point up for grabs for fastest laps in these races. Currently, unfortunately, losing a bit of time and is now red.
Oh no, so he's down on his time, so the fastest lap may not be going, but crucially, Shizer is not only leading, but Shizer actually has the fastest lap as well, which is something quite interesting, considering there was over 2 tenths between Shizer and Racefan and Quali Trim, and the race trim is not too different from Quali Spec. Shizer's done a good job here to get himself ahead.
He definitely has, and I mean, I'm looking at at Shizer's current list of lap times. I think he actually set that fastest lap quite a long time ago, so perhaps putting himself in the right frame of mind with that fastest lap, just that little bit of a confidence boost, just thinking, oh look, I can outpace Racefan behind, and he seems to be doing an okay job of it at the starts of these stints.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and it's something that he can look down on every lap, or every time something happens, or every time he's feeling like, oh, I think Racefan's going to catch me. He can look down at that left-hand side of the screen and see S1 Shizer, fastest lap, and go, who am I kidding? I'm the fastest man on the track right now. I can do this.
And it's a good feeling, isn't it? I'm sure you've been there plenty of times, just looking at that FL and seeing your name next to it. It can sometimes just be the confidence boost you need, because you look at it and go, no one has gone faster than me around the track on this race so far. I'm the fastest car. Let's do this.
Absolutely, I think you're spot on with that one, and we've actually just seen the gap extend as they've come over the mountain there. Racefans dropped to over 1.5 seconds behind Shizer, so this right now is Shizer's race to lose, and promotion from Group B straight up to Group A and to the top of the standings with a fastest lap and the front of the pack is an awesome performance so far, so he could really take this one home here.
It is impressive, isn't it? Getting promoted from the Group B and just coming up straight to lead, and like, it's looking at this stage, if things finished as they are, Shizer winning the group that he went up into, like, I would be pretty happy with that as a driver and a team owner.
Well, it's certainly a big statement coming in, and of course, end of season, we're looking at new groups for the next season. So he'll go in brimming with confidence for a start, And of course, these guys will know what he's about as well coming in. So I think we might see a very good season from Shiza next season.
Definitely not, but we shouldn't count our eggs before they hatch. Because we did see Race Fan just hang back about 1.5 seconds in his previous stint, and then all of a sudden found his second wind and gained all that time back. I'm not sure whether we'll see a little bit of deja vu here as this stint wanes on, but you know,
the tyre wear could come into play once again. We've seen it before, and I'm sure it won't be the last time.
Definitely, and we're seeing a similar story, which is to no surprise, honestly. The tyre wear pretty comparable. However, the Jaguar carrying a little bit of a disadvantage on the fronts, but the Ferrari carrying the disadvantage on the rears.
Yeah, so same again, more or less. So both sitting in kind of mediocre position for tyre wear, but in different ways to each other. I'm having a look back here at Gurr versus Stickers. The Lightning driver has caught up to the Jaguar driver here, and is probably going to look for a way past very shortly. We've seen how fast that Honda can be over the mountain. Now the gap down to about half a second here. He's going to look for a move at some point soon, I'm sure, as we come down the mountain. On board with Stickers now as we head through the dipper. Oh, he's gone into the wall. It's commentator's curse. Oh no, he's lost all of it. All that hard work undone there.
It's been a lot of that tonight. As soon as you jump on board.
Yep. Commentator's curse is alive and well. It's been proven today for sure. So I think, I think we'll call that one where it is. Good Doc currently sitting P7, so he's managed to get himself up out of P8. So still a good result, I think, for him. I think he's done very well to get the car to where it is, and it's a solid drive. He's sincerely outperformed all of the guys behind him, so I think he can be proud of that one.
Definitely, he's put in some consistent laps to do that. His personal best lap on lap 19, perhaps just extended out that gap to Grassy's behind.
So Grassy's now in the Alpha, is pretty clear of the other Tyrone in the Hyundai. So I think, and Dadson's down here as well. So P10 with Magnet in tow. Magnet proved himself to be a very, very quick Community Series driver as Dadson. Oh man, commentator's curse again. As soon as we go on board with Dadson, he catches some grass in the chase and loses out to Magnet there.
It can be so tough in that braking zone too, because the car can still be settling off that ultra fast turn 20 at the entry of the chase, and he's just suffering the dirty tyres at this point. Not helped, of course, by the tyre life and how that Dodge uses its tyres.
Of course, yeah. So halfway through this final stint now, he may have even pitted a lap early here, so he's really starting to suffer now, and that slide wouldn't have helped at all. VF in the Honda, followed closely by Daz 930 and Shinobi. Oh, what a race it could have been. He had a fantastic start, and he was running really well in the early stages, and I think it was one error, and then it was just a domino effect after that. He started pulling away from the guys behind him. He had the podium sewn up in the early laps, and then a couple of mistakes, and now he finds himself here in P14. So what could have been for the chill out Alfa Romeo? But we still have a race going on. The gap between the leaders has closed to 1.2 seconds. So are we seeing the second wind from Race Fan here that we saw a little bit earlier on, down to 1.1? They hold it about the same as they head through the chase for the 23rd time.
If Race Fan is going to get this overtake done, it's coming up to the point where it's going to happen, if it is indeed possible. Because I think we saw in the last stint that the Ferrari caught up. They had the little coming together, and I don't think Race Fan was quite able to just recover that from perhaps a car perspective or a tyre life perspective and try and come back before that pit stop. So it would be very, very difficult to see Race Fan attempt to move again. It doesn't quite come off, and he's just stuck in second position from then on.
Well, he's just right on the edge of slipstream. It must be infuriating right now. That 1.1, 1.2 second gap is really it's a frustrating gap because you can see the guy in front of you, but you can't catch him and he can't get away. So what can you do? You just got to wait and hope that something goes wrong for the other driver, or you somehow gain a whole lot of pace based on your tyre wear and such things like that.
And I'll tell you what starts to happen then. You start to get really frustrated by just how close you are to the slipstream, and you begin to think about just, oh, if I just got that one corner a little bit more right, or if I just didn't graze that barrier on whatever lap I did it. You know, you just start to think about all the mistakes you've made in your race, and then all of a sudden you're thinking about your mistakes and you're not thinking about your driving, and it can really put you in a very, very bad frame of mind, and you can just spiral downhill. But let's hope Race Fan doesn't fall into that trap.
Yeah, it can really get to it, especially 50 minutes into an hour race, or 53 minutes rather. We'll have a look back now at a couple of guys further down the pack. We've got Stickers closely following Gurr here, still close, hot on the heels of the Jaguar driver.
So I think we've got a little bit of an interesting development happening down in P13. Daz has gone in for another pit stop. So is that his third stop?
I would believe so. I think at
is.
this point in the race it has to be a third stop.
It would surely have to be. Is he going to potentially go for a fastest lap attempt? We see this a lot in Formula 1. You know, drivers will pit later in the race when the gaps are big and just try and get that extra point. I think it'll be hard for him to do that, given just the blistering pace that Shizer has had throughout this whole race. But maybe it's an attempt, and I've got to give Daz props for that.
Yeah, it really could be. It could be down to a couple of things. He could have seriously chewed through his tyres on his last stint and just decided, I can't go to the end on these. I may as well go for a fastest lap. Or he may have just decided, I'm not in a position to gain or lose if I pit now, so I may as well shoot for a fastest lap.
You got to have a go. If you don't have a go, you'll never get there. So I think what I'm going to do just on the next lap is I'm going to stay on board with Daz through the whole lap and just sort of see how that progresses for him, because I'm interested to see if he can actually put a dent in Shizer's pace.
All right, well, keep us posted on that for sure. Looking back up at the leaders, so the gap has still stagnated about the 1.1 mark. This time on the last lap it was 1.5, so it looks like Race Fans pulled it back a little bit. But 5 minutes left. He's really running out of time now to make something happen here. So work's going to be cut out for him to get past the Jaguar driver here. Shizer's put in a fantastic performance here for the CP Motorsports team. So a fantastic send-off for those guys, and a big thank you from Shizer, I think. As the gap comes down, though.
I've just had a quick look up to the race for P1 and 2, and that gap is closing just as we saw in the previous stint. It's hotting up quite nicely, isn't it?
I think so, and there we go again, coming out of Forest Elbow. That Ferrari's really put the foot down, and he's now within slipstream once again. So it's all a bit of deja vu here, guys, as we come into the final stages of the last stint. 4 minutes to go, and Race Fan is within slipstream range of Shizer. There's been some kind of small mistake for the Jaguar driver as he came down the hill, and now Race Fan is well and truly in with a shout at the race win.
Daz blue, so a personal best first sector, not quite purple, but he is really pushing this Porsche right to the ragged edge.
So he might be going for that fastest lap, and it might be possible to get it if he continues around the whole lap. Of course, he will have the same fuel at the same point.
Yeah, absolutely licking the edges of the white lines on the track. Just absolutely beautiful car control by Daz here, and I mean that.
It was good effort. We'll stay on board with Race Fan here as they come down Mountain Straight, chasing down the Jaguar, and we've seen how fast that Ferrari can be in the tow. It's got a lot of pace when it's got a car punching a hole through the air in front of it. Down to half a second.
I hate to interrupt you. Daz is purple. I repeat, Daz is purple.
So where are we looking with P13? Daz is purple coming down the mountain as we head through Forest Elbow. Is he going to steal that point from Shizer for the fastest lap? Can he do it?
If he can actually do this, I'm going to be quite impressed. If he can actually pull this off.
Well, imagine coming into this point of the race. You've got 3 minutes left to go. You're nearly an hour in, and you're that tired and that fatigued, and you're going for it.
Not quite purple, but 4/10 still up on his personal best. Personal best third sector, I think we're up to now.
Yep. So he's coming through the chase now.
Because this is his one chance to do it too. The tyre wear drops off too much to have a second go.
Yeah, I think this will be his only chance at a good lap. So he's going to have to push it. He's had a very clean lap. He's put it all together really well. What can he do? Can he go purple?
Oh,
not quite.
Not quite. Oh, 2 tenths. It was only 2 tenths.
Nearly stole the point.
Extremely impressed by that effort. You got to have a go.
I think he's done very well there. I think he's done exceptionally well.
Like, that's awesome. Well done, Daz.
All right, so we go back on board.
P1.
A massive, massive battle here for P1. Lap 26. It's going to be last lap for the next lap. 1:50 left. We're talking 2-minute, 10-second laps. So we are heading on to the final lap here. And the battle for P1 could not be hotter. Look at Shizer through that final corner. So sideways. That tyre is really starting to hurt him. Who's got the best car right now, Smoke?
I would say Race Fan probably has the best car right now. So we still do see the little bit of tyre disadvantage on the Ferrari's rears. However, it's nowhere near as big as the tyre disadvantage on the front of that Jaguar. So I think Race Fan has potentially done a better job of looking after his Ferrari, just sitting behind Shizer for so long. If he can get this overtake done on the last lap, I think he's played it absolutely perfectly.
Well, it looks like they're both really having trouble at the moment, including Race Fan. He's struggling to keep that rear end under control, and Shizer's walked away a little bit here. He's got it out to a second. So Race Fan's going to have to pull something serious out of his hat if he wants to take this position back, although Shizer's made a mistake there coming out of the cutting as they head over the hill.
We're just sitting here waiting for Conrod Straight, because that's where it really matters.
That's what's going to happen, man.
Yeah, and we saw previously that Ferrari was able to close down however many tenths it was like 6-7 tenths, almost the entire slipstream length, the entire slipstream range down in one rendition of Conrod Straight. So if you can just get a little bit closer, maybe 6 tenths or 5.5 tenths, I think there's a real chance of that Ferrari perhaps getting something done at the chase.
Well, I think this is it. They've both had a pretty average exit out of Forest Elbow, but I think the Ferrari's done it better. He's got the run. He's got the slipstream. There's an indicator there from Shizer.
There's an indicator and a lift. I can very, very reliably report that Shizer had a lift. He's lifting more. He's just relinquishing this position.
I've just heard Race Fan lift as well. I don't know what's going on here. I do not know what's going on here. I think Race Fan might just want Shizer to get a win. I don't know what's going on here.
I don't really understand that personally.
This is controversial.
Ahead,
this is very controversial.
Flashing the lights. I actually noticed Shizer flashing the lights as early as Brock's Skyline.
I saw that as well, actually.
I mean, we don't want to speculate. I mean,
are they going to cross the line together?
Both lifting. Are they doing a formation finish?
I don't know, man. But I don't know if that's awesome or controversial.
Yeah, I would say like photo opportunities there is immense, but there's definitely a big debrief to be had there. I mean, what did we just witness? I don't know.
Well, the upshot is Shizer takes P1, Race Fan P2, Mr. Bumcrack P3, and he was happy with that. Darkside P4, Stickers P5, ahead of Gurr. He managed to get it done in the end. And then we drop back to the Good Doc and P7, just coming through the chase with a solid result. I think, actually, just coming back to that, Shizer, that was his final race for Sector 1, if I'm not mistaken. So it may have been a send-off finish of some kind.
Yeah.
Good Doc comes across the line for P7 and Grassy's for P8. First of the Alphas to finish. Magnet coming round Murray's corner for the last time as well. The second of the Alphas, and the other Tyrone in P10 in the Hyundai. Not a bad drive from him either. VF takes P11 in the Honda of Aussie Hampton Racing. Dadson P12, Daz P13, and I think we had a retirement from Shinobi with wheel issues, if I rapidly read the chat correctly. So Daz not quite able to get that fastest lap, but comes home P13 on the freshest tyres on the grid, and gets it done.
I still say solid effort for that.
I think so. Yep, I think it was a good try. and a very interesting strategy as well, of course.
Indeed. Obviously.
Yeah, I think Shizer definitely deserved that victory, but I was very surprised not to see Racefan having a crack at him in that final sector. Oh man, I don't know. I don't think I know the circumstances well enough. Oh. It is very juicy. So we've got a couple of driver of the days in chat. Some guys really want Shizer to have it. Everyone seems to be stoked that Shizer won that race. Who was your driver of the day, Smoke? Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be an unpopular opinion as far as driver of the day election is concerned, but I see where you're coming from. I think it was a fantastic effort. I'm going to have to bring us back to the race broadcast screen because they can't hear you again for some reason. But Smoke was just saying his vote goes to Daz for the final fastest lap attempt.
Yeah, I do recognise that that may be a little bit unpopular, and we do know Shizer's final race here. Perhaps he probably deserves driver of the day a little bit more, but I was just very, very impressed by the attempt that Daz made at that fastest lap. And he was only 2/10 off after 55 minutes of endurance racing.
It was just cheeky, wasn't it? It was cheeky.
It was. Imagine
Going for
if
a
he did
cheeky
it too.
fastest lap. Yeah,
Imagine
big
if
time.
he did it too. The old cheeky point in there. Well done. But not quite, but still impressive for me.
He'll give it another go, I'm sure. But thank you very much for commentating tonight, mate. You've done a fantastic job. And with running the lobby as well. Very well done for your first time.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. So that will sign us off, guys, for the evening. Thank you very much for watching. You have been watching Sector 1 Sim Racing. That does wrap up the Touring Car Trophy Series for Season 4. So Season 5 is just around the corner, so stay tuned. If you're not in the Discord can be found in the description below. Make sure you've liked the stream if you did enjoy what we presented to you this evening, and you're subscribed if you do want to see us when we go live yet again for more content in the future. We will be back with some awesome stuff. There's most likely going to be a micro sector or a community race just around the corner, but for now we are signing off, and we will see you again next time we're on track, and stay safe, everyone.